If your weekend has actually culminated on Monday evening, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, where we kick off a huge week. I know Friday looked really bad, but over the weekend, we got some more posts. Maybe it's not going to be so bad. We've seen this pattern before. Hopefully by now, you're ready for it. We'll see where we go today. Futures big time green here this morning. We're going to cover all of that. And yeah, we've got a Bears game tonight. So I've got just a couple more hours of happiness before that turns to extreme anxiety. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Monday edition for October 13th, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had an excellent weekend. I know the 7-leg NFL parlay that I gave out here on Friday, the only leg not to hit was the Cowboys. The Cowboys losing to the Panthers. We could have started off our Monday with a little bit of pocket change from those bets, but alas, the Cowboys decided that they were not going to win. We lost that one. Hope to have some more good ones for you this morning, or this week when we get to Friday. But we got a huge week to get through first. And Sun-Kissed Yogi, you are first here today. Early bird getting the worm. Good morning, Sun-Kissed Yogi. Jane, good morning. Welcome back. Dee, good morning. We will definitely make some money here this week. Kelly, good morning. It's good to see you again. Big Dave, welcome back. Brian, welcome back. Corey, good morning. Candace, good morning. Dennis, good morning. Jim, good morning. Jim wants to know, buy the dip. Jim, we said this on Friday, probably a chance to buy the dip. I know we took another leg lower in the afternoon. I was monitoring it from the golf course and was like, wow, I'm glad I'm on the golf course. This is a really ugly day. And then over the weekend, I saw that we weren't supposed to worry, and things are coming back here today. So we'll see what kind of action we get here today. I definitely think there are going to be some day trades here today. Oh, one more note on that big downdraft that we had on Friday. I did sell the Palantir short, the PLTZ inverse. So I'll be looking to re-add that at some point here as well. Good morning, Jim. It's good to see you again. Minister, yo, LA Ram Life. So definitely, Stafford started to cook a little bit more in that. I needed more points from him out of fantasy, but nonetheless, a pretty good day. Ryan, good morning. Almost got caught slipping today. Thought there was a market holiday. The real question is, can the Bears catch Washington slipping tonight? Bro, my fingers are crossed. My fingers are crossed. We'll get to that when the time comes. It is Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day out there. Now, the market is open. The bond market is closed, and banks are closed. So the equity markets are still open, which means we still have a job to do here today. Chuck, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. I need 41 from Khalil Shakir. You might as well start looking ahead to next week, buddy. Sorry about that. Tom, good morning. Welcome back. Dirkus, good morning. It's good to see you. Sam, good morning. Whis, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Tanya, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Fairchild is locked in. What's going on, Fairchild? Good morning. Bernhard, welcome back. John, welcome back. Harley, welcome back. Catherine, welcome back. Tyler, welcome back. Fatty Liver King, welcome back. Graph, welcome back. Day Trader, welcome back. That's a bad beat if I ever saw on Cowboys or Bums. Man, I was like, they're going to do this. They're going to pull this out at the end. This is Carolina. They're going to pull this out at the end. And then Carolina with the clock control and the field goal as time expires. And I was like, goodbye, 7-leg parlay that I gave out that was going to make everyone else win. Goodbye. See you later. We'll have another one for you this weekend. That's how betting goes. That's why I always bet small. Johnny, good morning. Welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom. Good morning. Welcome back. Blazed Rhino, good morning. Jose, good morning. Big Abees, good morning. Ed and Latest Tech, good morning. Yassine, good morning. Maverick, it's good to see you again. Jay Grant, Jane, and Raffle, good morning. Austin, good morning. Who am I missing here? Alvin, good morning. Tenzin, good morning. Tenzin, what's the play on Apple today? A lot of volatility with this back and forth here. Let me know what you're lining up here as far as some of the tech names go, in particular Apple. Darkside Hemi, good morning. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Nathan, good morning. Christian, good morning. JJ, Tom, good morning. Van Wammel, good morning. And Sean, good morning. Great to see all of you. Let's go ahead and get today kicked off with the stock market today. All right, futures are bigly in the green here this morning. S&P futures up 1.05%, Dow futures up 0.7, and the NASDAQ futures leading the way higher at 1.58% in the green. Oh, I already have it shared there. Let's take a look at some cues from last session here. With information technology, consumer discretionary, and energy stocks posting the biggest losses, most sectors on the S&P 500 closed Friday on a negative note. However, consumer staples managed to buck the broader market trend, ending the session with higher gains. The Magnificent Seven stocks surged in the pre-market here today following President Trump's de-escalation on Sunday evening. Quote, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine." End quote. Adding that, quote, "Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment." End quote. Asian markets tumbled in trade on Monday with major Chinese technology and auto stocks falling sharply in trade in Hong Kong. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.03%. Would love to see this get back under 4%. We're close. Yielded 4.03%, and the 2-year bond yielded 3.5%. We do have some stocks in focus here today. All of the Magnificent Seven stocks are likely going to be in focus today, given the big sell-off that we saw on Friday, and the futures deeply in the green here today. NVIDIA, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon Alphabet, and Meta all up here. NVIDIA maintained a stronger price trend over the short, medium, and long terms with a poor value ranking as per our Benzinga Edge rankings. But again, all of those 7 stocks going to be major players here today, in particular for short-term trades, but curious to know if there's any long-term entry for you folks here. Also on this list is going to be Fastenal. That's ticker FAST. They jumped 2.57% ahead of its earnings before the opening bell. Analysts were estimating an earnings per share of 30 cents on a revenue of $2.13 billion. Now, Fastenal did trade higher initially, although it's lower here this morning, sitting at right about 44. So we'll see where Fastenal ends up going here today. Also, ticker FFAI, Faraday Future Intelligent Electric, they gained 2.96% after the company signed a deposit agreement for 1,000 units of the FX Super One with Zevo. Vince Holding, ticker VNCE, that tumbled 3.15% after announcing it will transfer from the NASDAQ to the NYSE. And then lastly here, Lucid Group, ticker LCID, shares climb 1.95% as the electric vehicle maker said it had begun customer deliveries for the Lucid Gravity Grand Touring SUV in Canada. All right, let's go back to Pro. Let's take a look at the SPY and let's get everything set up here for this week. Let me bring the SPY up here real quick. Here's what we're looking at. Now, I told you last week that I was going to leave one of these upside levels plotted on the chart because I wanted to see if the market was actually going to take that level out and look for a new top, or if it might reverse somewhere around that level. So the upside level that I have marked off here is 672.99. We have traded above this, so there actually is another high. But as you can see with the move on Friday, big time knife that just blew right past the 20-day. We've been talking about that one, that moving average being a potential bounce spot for the market. It offered no support, at least no overnight support for the market on Friday. We did kind of stop there initially. We ended up taking another leg down in the afternoon. That took us to the 50-day. In fact, the prints that I have in the market, the regular session print, looked like it was 652 and change. So we basically tapped that. It is worth noting that we went lower in the pre-market on Friday. It looks like 646 was our low. Here you go, 646 and change. was our low from the after-hour session. Again, with the futures in the green here, markets popping back. And although we've bled some of that pop back here, we'll see how the market handles all of this when it opens here today. Going back to the daily chart, this does, in fact, look like a test of the 50-day. And I would imagine if we continue to firm up or show any type of strength here today, a retest of 664 is probably on deck. We're currently sitting at 660 here in the pre-market, so I suppose you could make the case that the SPY is going to choose a direction here today. Upside level, 664.50 or 664.46 as marked by the line here. Downside level, 652. That's going to be our 50-day moving average and our 20-day moving average. We'll see if we can recapture any of our the 20-day, or we'll see if we find some support there at the 50-day. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here regarding what's going on. Crescat Capital warned that speculative complacency has pushed top technology stock valuations significantly past the 2000 dot-com bubble. The firm advocates for a great rotation from overvalued AI stocks into assets like gold miners. Let me know if this is anything that you're doing. Are you rotating into any of these miners, more into gold? Did you buy gold in the big pullback that we had on Friday? Let me know where you sit with that. Not older trades. Older trades, we know where you probably sit on that. I'm more looking for newer information here. Kevin C. Smith, Crescat's chief investment officer, analyzed that enterprise value of the top 10 U.S. mega caps is 76.8% of GDP. That's 270% higher than the 28.4% peak during the internet bubble. Chief Investment Officer Kevin Smith stated that investing in tech-dominated index funds now, quote, assumes that gravity no longer applies, end quote. And so that leads me to the next thing that I wanted to discuss here. Do we think that this move that we saw start to materialize on Friday, is this the start of a down move or a correction? Is this going to be prolonged? Or do we come back up and test some of those highs? Would love to know where you folks sit on that. Meanwhile, economist Justin Wolfers issued a stark warning, arguing that the U.S. is effectively operating as two economies, where a massive artificial intelligence boom is concealing significant weakness in other sectors. Quote, if you took that out of the numbers and you looked at the non-AI parts of the economy, it's basically flatlining. This came in a social media post. Wolfers credited the insight to fellow economists Natasha Sarin and Jason Furman. So we have seen this before. This is one of the reasons why we see some of these smaller companies that PR things about AI and all of that end up popping. It definitely seems like there's a bit of an underlying current there. How will that hold up for some of these stocks? I think that's yet to be seen. Other parts of the economy do seem to be flatlining, but we'll see how that changes as we get deeper into Q4 and closer to the holiday. Next story here, JD Vance says the U.S. has, quote, far more cards than China. This going back to the news that we got there on Friday. Vice President JD Vance asserted that the U.S. holds a stronger position than China in the ongoing trade tensions, expressing optimism that Beijing will opt for a reasonable approach. Vance, in an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox News, addressed the escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China. Quote, what the United States has is we have a lot of leverage, and my hope, and I know the president's hope, is that we don't have to use that leverage, end quote. Vance acknowledged the need for careful handling of the situation, stating, quote, it's going to be a delicate dance, and a lot is going to depend on how the Chinese respond, end quote. He also highlighted the strong relationship between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, expressing hope that China would not initiate a trade war and act with a chosen path of reason. Quote, if they respond in a highly aggressive manner, I guarantee you the president of the United States has far more cards than the People's Republic of China, end quote. And that is exactly the case that we've seen. We talked a little bit about this on Friday. We talked a lot about the looming debt crisis that China has here. So clearly they're playing a game here. The whole tariff back and forth. By now we have plenty of information to know that this is absolutely a negotiating tactic, and we're getting this back and forth. We'll see how it shakes out. Vance seems pretty confident here, and I'm not surprised to see that at all. His remark followed President Trump's threat on Friday to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese goods and restrict the export of critical software in response to Beijing's control over rare earth mineral exports. By the way, as an aside from all of the bickering with China and the U.S., how about USAR? We've talked a lot about some of these critical mineral stocks. USAR, MP have been massive winners. We also talked about CRML last week. All of those trading higher here. USAR on the back of this news, almost 10 points higher at the high from where it is. That ended up being a really good short-term trade, probably has some more long-term legs as well. The U.S. stock futures rallied on Sunday night following President Trump's decision to walk back on his latest tariff escalation with China. This came after a spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Commerce stated that, well, China does not want a trade war. It's not afraid of one. However, the initial tariff threat had a significant impact on the U.S. equity markets, with three major indexes ending Friday in the red. This was seen as a sign that Trump's massive tariff hike, threat against China is hurting the U.S. more. Now, here today, with a little bit more information, we see that that's not the case. However, Trump's history of making threats and then retracting them, especially as it plays for China, regarding tariffs, has led to skepticism among economists. This was evident in a post by Peter Schiff on X, where he referred to Trump's behavior as taco. So we decided we were going to name the show this morning Tacos for Breakfast. We often talk about food here on the show anyway, despite it being entirely too early to really eat food here in the morning. But hopefully y'all like some breakfast tacos, because that's what we're going at here today. However, Trump's history of making wrong paragraph. The S&P 500 futures are up 1.35%. That's actually backed off a little here. S&P futures up 1.16%, and the NASDAQ futures actually up 1.76%. So both of these a little bit higher than when we first signed on. Like I said, I really want to see what happens here this morning when we get the volume flow from the open. I want to see what the regular session does here today to the market. I'm expecting some pretty volatile moves in both directions, to be quite honest with you. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we pulled a little bit out of the open and then rallied, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll play whatever hand the market deals us here today. Now, there was some shenanigans, if you will, in the Bitcoin market. I'll tell you what, of all of the things that happened on Friday, obviously I got a little bit caught up when I got off the golf course on Friday. Of all of the things that happened, the craziest stuff was absolutely in the Bitcoin market. And I don't know that I've ever felt more grateful that I don't trade or really kind of leverage myself with Bitcoin, because the liquidations there were crazy. And because I had no leverage and nothing really to worry about, just kind of waded through that. However, it does look like somebody kind of had an inkling as to what was going on here. A trader who attracted attention for successfully shorting BTC just before the recent crash added to their position even as the market rebounded on Sunday. So is there more downside to go? We will have to see. The investor opened the position at 117,369 and was sitting on an unrealized profit of 3.7 million as of this writing, according to the decentralized perpetual exchange Hyperliquid. The trader took a 10x leverage to boost the position's value to over 163 million. If Bitcoin reaches 123,510, which is 7.59% away from where it currently is, this trader will be liquidated. Interestingly, the bet was taken despite the recent come on, Ryan, get it together. Interestingly, the bet was taken despite the market's sharp rebound, with Bitcoin regaining 115 on Sunday. Looking at the Bitcoin futures here today, we actually lost that here this morning. I've got the Bitcoin futures currently sitting at 114,700 as of right now on Monday morning. The whale grabbed headlines after opening a multi-million-dollar short position on Bitcoin and Ethereum right before President Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on China. The cryptocurrency market tumbled in response, and the traders subsequently closed out most of their short positions, netting a profit of 160 million. For anyone that wants to go through some of the different tweets and the threads that have a lot of this stuff tracked, I don't do any of this myself, like kind of looking into the blockchain and seeing where all the stuff goes. I pretty much rely on some of these accounts that do some of this. If you want to go through all of that here, there's a bunch of great links in this article. I went ahead and threw the article in the chat there so that you can all dig through it on your own. It also is going to have links to the Kobisi letter, which highlighted the same thing here. Kobisi letter wondering if someone knew here. I'll let you folks speculate to who that was. This is not the first time that suspicions of insider trading have been raised in relations to Trump's posts. Earlier in March, a trader opened a 50x leverage bet on Bitcoin and Ethereum shortly before Trump announced a cryptocurrency reserve, turning an investment of $4 million into a $200 million position. So a lot of stuff going on here in crypto. I definitely want to see how it responds today. Still in the Ethereum calls for December. I think we probably have enough time there as long as the Bitcoin market doesn't completely fall apart. And I'll say right here, I don't think that's going to be the case. I suspect that these are actually going to come back here, and particularly Bitcoin. It will probably be Bitcoin before some of these equities, if I had to guess. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of those critical minerals there that we just talked about. The Pentagon is moving to secure a $1 billion stockpile of critical minerals. The Department of Defense is aiming to insulate the U.S.'s defense supply chains from China's tightening control of strategic metals. According to the Financial Times, the Defense Logistics Agency, or the DLA, has begun formal procurement steps to acquire vast quantities of minerals. These minerals are essential to weapon systems, electronics, and advanced manufacturing. Quote, they're definitely looking for more, and they're doing it in a deliberate and expensive way, end quote. That was one former U.S. defense official who talked to the Financial Times. They described the ramp up as the sharpest acceleration in America's stockpile efforts in decades. Last Thursday, Beijing announced new export restrictions on rare earth and related technologies. That retaliatory measure jolted markets and triggered an immediate U.S. political response. Citing China's quote, hostage economics, President Trump announced a sweeping 100% tariffs on Chinese imports on Friday. Quote, there is no way that China should be allowed to hold the world captive, end quote. That came from Trump's Truth Social post. The measures are part of a broader hardline policy linking national security with industrial resilience. It is a cornerstone of Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which allocates $7.5 billion to critical mineral initiatives. In addition, it also includes $2 billion for expanding the defense stockpile by 2027. DLA maintains a reserve of metals, alloys, and minerals valued at $1.3 billion as of 2023. However, the use of these materials for national defense, the use of these materials is for national defense purposes only. Quote, China's ability to turn off the supply of these critical minerals would have a direct, palpable, and adverse effect on the U.S.'s ability to field the kind of high technology capabilities that we're going to need. That came from Stephen Barna, a partner at Covington and Burlington and a former acting assistant secretary of defense. Recent filings show the Pentagon's targeting metals beyond its usual scope. Planned purchases include $500 million in cobalt, $245 million in antimony from the U.S. Antimony, or ticker UAMY, UAMY. We talk about that one all of the time. Looks like there's going to be some more action in this. $100 million of tantalum from domestic supplier, and about $45 million of scandium from Rio Tinto, ticker RIO, and APL Engineered Materials. Meanwhile, the agency is also exploring acquisitions of tungsten, bismuth, indium, and other rare metals. Since quantities in some cases exceed U.S.'s annual production, the plan signals preparation for long-term strategic shortages. But building a mineral stockpile isn't as straightforward as filling warehouses. The Defense Department recently expanded plans to stockpile cobalt for battery and aerospace applications, yet the challenge remains structural. A study by Columbia's University Center for Global Energy Policy warned that the U.S. faces technical challenges in storing some of these critical minerals, for example, cobalt, for future use. Quote, building such a stockpile comes with significant design and implementation challenges. A successful effort will require clarity of purpose, strategic alignment between stakeholders, and substantial investment. That came from Dr. Tom Mornhout. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. The reason that I wanted to bring this up is because I suspect we're going to see more news about this. We've seen, obviously, some of the big news about China and the critical minerals and the back and forth of all of that. But I would be entirely unsurprised if we saw some more of these companies that get involved in some of these lesser known metals start to make headlines. I think there's going to be some long runway for this trade too. So I think that this is definitely something that you can maybe, if you start researching some of these stocks, put them on your watch list and see how they respond and what their charts start to look like, especially going into Q4 here. I don't think this story's done at all. And I think that we're going to see, like we saw with crypto and some of these AI names, we're going to see PRs that juice some of these stocks, especially ones that are out of the public eye or not as popular as things like, let's say, USAR or MP, which we're kind of already tracking. So I know that there's a lot of, we kind of look at uranium stocks here along this line, but I really think that keeping an extra eye and ear open for news on different critical minerals, even if it's some of the less important or less popular ones, I actually still think this could result in some pretty good trading opportunities for us in our group. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up. Again, if you want to go through any of that, link is in the chat there for you. All right. And then Carvana. Let's take a look here at Carvana. We actually spoke about Carvana here last week a little bit on the happy hour program. Carvana had a fairly interesting chart, right? If we zoom out here, you can see this chart really made a huge comeback from single digits at one point, or at least low double digits. Recently, we had a pretty awesome broadening formation that Carvana was really riding the upper trend line of, but now things appear different. We've actually started to lose some of these moving averages. Obviously, we started with the 20-day. We lost the 50-day. On Friday, we ended up losing the 100-day. Carvana's not that far away, about 40 points now away from its 200-day. Biggabees, I guess this was more aimed at you, at least in this particular regard. Do we think Carvana could really fall through the 200-day? Do we think maybe we could test that 500-day or the broadening or the bottom edge of this broadening wedge? You'll have to let me know. Anyway, Carvana, possible trade coming up here. They face subprime fears, but analysts see little risk to growth. So perhaps on the other side of that, Carvana might be a pullback opportunity. Carvana is navigating recent renewed scrutiny over its subprime financing amid broader market jitters, but the online used car retailer appears well positioned to weather potential losses, with rising used car prices and resilient securitization structures keeping its growth trajectory intact. BTIG analyst Marvin Fong maintained their buy rating and a $450 price forecast, maintaining Carvana as a top pick for the second half of 2025. Y'all will have to let me know if you like this, if you think that there's any, if you're long, I guess if you're long or short here on Carvana, producer, perhaps we can do a poll on this one as well. The recent bankruptcy of subprime lender Tricolor, CarMax, ticker KMX, adding more reserves to its loan portfolio, and general macro concerns surrounding the auto finance market have brought renewed interest into Carvana's financing exposure. BTIG said investors have been closely examining Carvana's auto loan performance, focusing on delinquency and cumulative net loss rates. The firm conducted a deeper analysis of how Carvana's loan underwriting standards and asset-backed security structures have evolved, as well as their potential financial impact if any of its subprime loan pools were to experience losses. The firm said that across Carvana's 14 subprime asset-backed securities issuances since 2019, no involvement grade tranches appear at risk of impairment, even where cumulative net losses exceed initial projections by over 500 basis points. BTIG believes these tranches remain well insulated from credit stress. Responding to bearish analysis indicating that the loss coverage for Class E notes is below the forecast of future net losses, BTIG said their views overlook the future excess spread income can provide additional credit enhancement to the securitizations, preventing loss of principal. The firm also noted that the used car prices started rising after 2 years of declines, which should help improve recovery rates. BTIG outlined three even if stresses stress cases that imply resilience. Even if equity tranches experience losses, their internal rate of return could remain positive. Even if impairments occur, market access is likely intact as issuers like SoFi and Upstart have continued securitization despite similar credit events. And even if Carvana increases credit enhancement, the estimated 13% hit to adjusted EBITDA would leave margins roughly double those of traditional dealers. BTIG's $450 price forecast based on 28 times fiscal 2027 adjusted EBITDA multiple reflects expectations for sustained margin leadership and share gains supported by tariffs that raise new car prices and bolster used vehicle demand. So obviously there's a tariff angle here. You might also think that there's a critical mineral angle here, which we've been talking about as another aside. The firm said Carvana's vertically integrated model enables both growth and profitability despite only a 1% share of the used car market. Tariff-driven pricing benefits and the company's expansion into franchise and adjacent markets could further extend its reach. BTIG projects strong top line and earnings growth for Carvana over the next 2 years. Do you guys still see car vending machines anywhere? I have not. The last one that I saw was empty. I haven't driven by there anytime recently. Let me know, though. I feel like Carvana is less and less noticeable. That's just anecdotal, though. The firm estimates fiscal year 2025 revenue at $18.97 billion. That's up sharply from $13.67 billion in fiscal year 2024. For fiscal year 2026, revenue is expected to rise further to $24.03 billion. On profitability, BTIG forecasts adjusted EBITDA of $2.19 billion in fiscal year 2025. That's nearly 60% higher than fiscal year 2024 levels, and $2.92 billion in fiscal year for 2026. So again, I'm interested in Carvana here. Does this pullback represent a buying opportunity, or are we likely going to finish our move down towards the 200? Y'all have to let me know. Carvana's been a pretty good trade for us in the past, and it looks like it might be setting up for another one here today. Okay, Monday, we normally don't have a guest, but today is going to be a little bit different. And given all of the volatility that we saw, I figured we'd bring Luke back on. So please, warm welcome here for Lloyd Financial Group President and CEO, Luke Lloyd. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Luke, good morning. How you doing, my man?
Rocking and rolling. It was a good weekend. How was your weekend?
Oh, man, my weekend was great, but I'm a Bears fan, so my weekend culminates tonight as we take on the Washington Commanders. I'm a little bit nervous, but check in with me tomorrow, and I'll let you know how it actually.
We'll be watching. I'm a Steelers fan, and I'll tell you, even though Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, it's not sexy all the time, they know how to win. They know how to win, and that's all that matters.
They absolutely do. And if you take a look at the Ravens in that division, they forgot how to win, apparently, because they can't get anything done.
And By the way, all about that.
If you make it to Chicago for the Steelers Bears game, you let me know. Maybe we'll have a drink or something like that. We did have a wild move here on Friday, and I'm just going to cut through all of this. I want to get right to it. You asked me how my weekend was really good. We saw a move back in the futures market as Trump kind of threw some cold water on some of the scares that got the market down on Friday. With the wild day on Friday, first of all, what do you make of it? What do you make of Trump's weekend post? And perhaps most importantly, where do we go from here?
So the most interesting thing that I kind of thought about coming out of this from the volatility we saw on Friday compared to today and compared to last time the tariff situation, kind of tariff tiff, I'll call it, back in March and April, the biggest difference is that inflation expectations actually went down this time on Friday. You saw long duration treasuries rocket higher, like 1.6% on TLT. You saw the 10-year bond go up, yields go down. Last time, if you remember back in March and April, yeah, the risk off trade happened, but inflation expectations actually went up on the tariffs, kind of like you were talking about the automobile side of the equation right before we got on, right? So it looks like the market was trying to digest and kind of allude to that tariffs might no longer be inflationary if we kind of get that going forward. It's going to be more of an economic slowdown is kind of what the market's saying. Now, what you kind of alluded to also was the tweet over the weekend. I think the biggest thing that we can kind of realize about this administration, because the fact that we sold off so quickly back in March and April, and then it kind of all kind of got figured out, and all the investors kind of came back in, bought the market. It looks like any pull down is going to be short-lived, probably in the foreseeable future. So I think a lot of this is a buying opportunity. Liquidity remains strong. Whether inflation expectations went up a little bit on Friday, they're coming back down today. We look at three things at LFG. We look at liquidity, growth, and inflation. Growth remains pretty strong. Inflation expectations have come down a lot over the past year or two. And then you take a look at liquidity is extremely strong. So we actually at LFG about a month ago, and they've been rocking in our portfolios.
Mhm.
We are thinking about maybe selling maybe in the next month or two, depending on market conditions. But we bought ASTS, which is AST Space Mobile. We bought it
Oh, yeah.
around 40. It's at 87. I wish I was on your show a month ago. I talked about it on a couple other shows. GitLab we bought, which is actually down from our cost basis of where we bought it from. So I still think that's a phenomenal buy. And then you take a look at another area like Bullish, BLSH, which is up a little bit from where we bought it. But we bought those three really kind of like really unique, kind of fun names. They're newish, kind of even to the market in some sort of capacities. But the liquidity remaining strong should be very bullish for some of those higher tech growth areas. But you have to be very kind of careful with where you pick. You just don't want to throw money at the wall anywhere. But we think those three stocks are good enough with a balance sheet perspective and demand perspective in the market to really benefit from the liquidity remaining strong. But again, ASTS is up 130% since when we bought it. So I'm not recommending new buyers maybe put money into it, although it would help the short squeeze going on with 25% short.
Yeah, no, that was a great call. Actually, the last time that we were on here, we did speak about space as a theme. I believe we also talked about Rocket Lab, which has been doing phenomenal since we spoke last. You've made a lot of great calls. You and your firm have made a lot of great calls here. You mentioned some of them there: Bullish, Circle, GitLab, ASTS. A lot of them have ripped now. For the ones that have sold back here, you just talked a little bit about. We kind of feel like we're in buy the dip mode here. Some of these names that maybe have made some of these outsized moves and come back in. Is it okay to maybe add back to those maybe for another trade, or are you just kind of putting it on the back burner until we kind of reset?
Great question. As long as liquidity remains strong, and I don't see any kind of environment where it doesn't continue to remain strong with all the deficit spending, with the pathway of interest rates going lower, coming on the horizon. So you take a look at both of those factors. As long as liquidity remains strong, pullbacks in a lot of those areas remain, again, viable. So Circle, I think, is still a really good spot to add. GitLab, again, a really good spot to add. We actually, on our portfolios, the way we treat ours, is we actually have kind of a bifurcated portfolio, just kind of like feels like we have a bifurcated almost economy, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
the middle class is getting squeezed. Those that own assets are doing very well. Stock market near all-time highs, real estate at all-time highs, all that fun stuff. So we like to kind of bifurcate our portfolio. And what I mean by that is, I would say about 80 to 90% of our portfolio is what we call, growth at a reasonable price. Like very quality, good balance sheet, not a lot of debt, not a lot of high growth stocks. But the 10 to 15% that we add, like the Circle, Bullish, ASTS, that are high beta stocks are trading back and forth maybe 10% each day, like we saw yesterday with a lot of those stocks down 10%. Some of those up 10 to 15% earlier last week before the sell-off on Friday. Those like 15% weightings can actually really round out your portfolio without taking on an extreme amount of risk, right? So you can actually deliver alpha while remaining pretty quality and balance sheet focus on the other 85%. So utilities, I talked, I think, last time about utilities on your show,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. I didn't rewatch the show about a month and a half ago we were on. But utilities, even though it's not, a fun area to talk about, utilities are still up, I don't know, 15, I think, percent this year or something, and it pumps off a 4 or 5% yield. Like, I think utilities still remain to be a good spot. You're taking a look at even the simple stocks like Kraft Heinz we bought, like, which is something that, again, a lot of people wouldn't think about, but with that Warren Buffett mindset of, I think he's upset with them divesting from and splitting up the company again. We bought it after that news came out just because we think there's a lot of quality there, and it pumps off a good dividend, and it's got a call option on dividends going lower. So our overall yield on our portfolio right now, just to show you how quality focused it is, outside of the 15% I'm kind of mentioning there, is about 4%. So we own a lot of those high quality dividend paying names that aren't necessarily fun always to talk about, but they've been actually performing pretty well.
Yeah, indeed. And really quickly here, we do that work here for you. You're not going to be forced to remember that. The last time we had you on, we did speak about those utilities. We also spoke about TLT. We spoke about energy. We spoke about EWY on the weak dollar. We also spoke about some defense stocks. You had talked a lot about there being some macro uncertainty. Obviously, it looks like we have one of these wars over now, but there's still some uncertainty out there. Europe has shown more of a propensity to kind of add to their own defense. So I think that that's still in play here. One more thing that I wanted to ask you regarding the space theme, because that's been a popular one, not only for guests that we've had on, but our group as well. We talked a lot about Rocket. We talked a lot about ASTS. Do you have a long-term view on the industry? Are you looking for more space-based plays? Do you think there's some more runway on this? I know, putting ASTS and Rocket Lab aside, is there any more that you're looking at? And then do you have any view on any of those topics we previously discussed, like TLT, Korea, or
Yeah.
defense?
I want to be completely clear here, just so I'm not like, saying something to the viewers and trying to get them all excited about space just because I'm talking about it. I want to be clear that I'm referencing the higher tech growth names in the portfolio that we're looking to add purely because of liquidity. And frankly, these are trades. So we do probably
Okay.
plan on being out of these probably in the next couple of months. So space, yes, it's very interesting. Like I'm a nerd. I'm a Star Wars
Me too.
nerd, Star Trek. Like I've watched all of that. My dad forced me like at 6 years old to watch all of the Star tracks from like the 1970s. So look, I love space. I love the final frontier. It'd be awesome to be in a spaceship one day, but there has to be so much more innovation in that area, so much more capital flowing into that area. With interest rates coming lower, that should benefit a lot of those higher growth areas. You could take a look at some of the virgin areas. You could take a look at some of the other kind of ancillary areas of space. But when it comes to that kind of side of the equation, if we get any kind of recession or any kind of negative downturn in the next 5 to 10 years, which I would say there's going to be some slowdown in the next 5 to 10 years, you don't want to probably be a straight long-term investor just because of the capital needs of that industry. Unless you're Elon Musk and you can go fundraise billions and billions of
Yeah.
dollars because you are known to be a winner that never loses. So I would not be in that high growth. I have no idea what's happening with my camera, by the way. It's like this is
It,
really weird. Anyway,
it's like a
um,
psychedelic light show or something like that.
I know. I must have the right be in the spot by the window. I
There
don't
you
know,
go.
something like that. But yeah, I would not be a long-term investor. I would be looking to be more in a trade in that kind of space.
Okay, that's really helpful, and I'm glad we were separating that. I'll tell you what, it's made for a great trading environment recently, so that makes a lot of sense. Okay, you talked a little bit about buy the dip there, that kind of mentality, and I just want to expand on that a little bit. First of all, and this is something that I'm kind of looking at, does it feel to you like for this recent rally or some of these recent moves up that there are still some reluctant investors on the sideline? And if you're looking for a buy the dip opportunity, do you think any of those reluctant investors end up buying the dip with you and maybe carry this to a new level, the market to a new
I
level?
think that's very possible, and that's been one of the biggest bull theses kind of on the out there. Is like how many trillions of dollars
Sure.
is in money market accounts, and I have two different philosophies here. Scared money usually remains pretty scared. There's a ton of FOMO going on right now, which is why the saying and the mentality that stock markets at all-time highs continue to hit all-time highs more than stock markets near bottoms, because there's a reason why it's at all-time highs compared to when it's at bottoms or near or going lower and hitting new lows. You want to buy the market more at all-time highs than you do at new lows. So, or stocks even at all-time highs compared to new lows. So, I think that money will come out as we kind of that FOMO continues to increase.
Mm.
But I do believe that a lot of that money is going to remain parked there, because if you were in cash 2 years ago, why would you buy the market at 100% higher? Even though there is that FOMO kind of going on, it kind of would be almost a psychological barrier saying, okay, well, now I'm afraid to miss out on the last 100% 2 years ago. Now I'm afraid there's going to be a 50% correction. I'll just get back in when it sells off. That kind of mentality usually does not change as I talk to people in this industry, right? So is that a bull thesis? Absolutely. Is it
Mhm.
the only bull thesis you should use as an investment theme? I think it's actually the opposite side that you should actually pay attention to more. The fact that no one's selling the market, really. I mean, Friday, yes, but overall, it doesn't. It feels like investors are holding assets, and as long as that money doesn't have to come out of money market accounts for the market to continue to higher. We just need people to not get scared and nervous. And it does feel like there is a sense of nervousness in this market with quick reactions like we saw on Friday, and then we saw gains over the weekend. We'll see how we open today. But what I would say is you want to be quick and nimble as a trader. You want to probably use covered calls in a lot of ways for a lot of the stocks that you might own in your portfolios. And then you also want to be you do want to own maybe some bonds. Like we talked about TLT, which I was probably early on in some ways. With interest rates going lower, you do want TLT to be a small portion of your portfolio, I believe, because it's a call option on any kind of hedge on any kind of sell-off and a call option on rates going lower.
Okay, so the last time, I mean, you talked about the market selling off there on Friday. We crashed all the way down to the 50-day moving average. The last time that we were at the 50-day moving average, the market proceeded to run 21.5% from that area. So, well taken there. All right, just kind of looking ahead here, do you anticipate a strong Q4 and holiday season this year? And if so, what are some of the things you're looking at for the rest of 2025? And if nothing really fits that criteria, what are you looking for in early 2026?
Great question. Yeah, I think things are going to remain pretty strong. I think consumers still are spending money. Job market still remains pretty strong. And then you take a look at AI. We haven't really seen true AI replacement of the workforce, and I think that will come. I think that's probably a 2026, mid 2026, late 2026, maybe even early 2027 story. So I am concerned about that because it is a kind of debt snowball as people get unemployed or get laid off. They stop spending money, and then snowballs. They start defaulting on debt, and with things, houses and car loans and credit card delinquencies starting to tick up, bankruptcies starting to tick up a little bit. That does concern me, but I don't think there's an immediate need. A lot of companies don't really fire, I don't think, into the holiday season. It's a bad look for their employees that want to buy gifts for their children. I think they wait for the new year. So I think we'll continue to be okay around that over the next couple months from a job market perspective. But I think you want to start looking at again, the ancillary AI stories. Accenture, another stock that has been extremely unloved. I think it's down like 40% or something from the highs about a couple years back, maybe a year and a half, 2 years back. I think that stock continues to be an interesting area if it gets loved, if the CEO can execute. They don't execute. They haven't executed. So we just added to that stock on some downward pressure there. But I want to play the ancillary AI stories. I would maybe start thinking about some of the discretionary areas, but I would not stay too long in some of the discretionary areas if we do get some bullish trends in that. But again, right now we are rounding out our portfolios with basically those four tech stocks that have added alpha, kept us kind of ahead of the market in a lot of ways, while the other 85% or so protects us, like the Kraft Heinz, like the Bristol Myers, like some of the again, sexy names.
Okay. Luke Lloyd Financial Group, or LFG for short, one of my favorites. Luke, really appreciate it. Any want to plug Lloyd Financial Group at all before we take off for the day here?
Look, guys. I mean, look, I'm a real person. I think a lot of this industry is stuck with a lot of stressed out Wall Street sometimes, and I'm just trying to bring that Main Street to Wall Street because look, I'm from small town Martins Ferry, Ohio. Coal mines, steel mills went out of business my entire life. Maybe nuclear energy could be coming back in the area. That's one area we did not talk about. I still would be playing a lot of those areas, but you can contact me at lloydfg.com.
Okay, amazing. We'll have to bring you back and talk about that. As someone that also tries to kind of bridge the gap here between Main Street and Wall Street, I really appreciate it. Luke, really good stuff here this morning. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch up with you soon, all right?
Thanks, brother.
All right, that is Luke Lloyd from Lloyd Financial Group, or LFG. Oh, wow. 13, I just clicked that to remove him, and he removed himself. And then so the resulting click that I made was to bring you on. So
well, I'm here now.
Sorry about that surprise open, but happy Monday.
Hey, no worries. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, chat. How are we all doing?
We're doing good, man. Like I have been saying since I opened here, I did enjoy my weekend. It was crazy to see what took place on Friday and then the tweet on Sunday and what that's all going to mean here this week. But the reality is My weekend culminates tonight as the Bears play the Commanders. And of course, I work with a humongous Commanders fan here. So that should make this week interesting. So 13, do me a favor. Ask me again tomorrow, would you?
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay.
I won't remember, but I'll try.
Yeah, that's okay. And frankly, if the Bears end up getting smoked, then I'll probably be glad that you forgot. It is what it is. What's that?
Y'all have Victory Tuesdays?
We do sometimes, but they got to win. We have to earn our Victory Tuesdays. So nothing on that until we actually get there. All right. Now we do have some stuff moving around here. You want to just get right to those? Kind of get the group ready here. Let's start with the movers there. I'm actually going to start with BE. This news came a little bit late. It's not at the top of the movers list here. I saw several folks mention this here today. Day Trader, I think you were on this one early. I couldn't read all of the comments. I'm sorry about that because things was moving real quickly while we were going through the news and the interview here. But Bloom Energy, ticker BE. This stock, man, oh man. Stock did sell off on Friday. It was about $90. It closed at about $86. Yeah, 86, 87 there on Friday, but a big move higher here today. In fact, it looks like we topped out at about 118. Bloom Energy shares are trading higher after the company announced it will become the preferred on-site power provider for Brookfield's global AI factories. Wow. Okay, so pretty good piece of news there. I'd actually have to go through the PR to see what this means in terms of its megawatt hours and all of that. But nonetheless, market rewarding this here this morning. Big pop on some pretty good volume here. Let me take a look at the short interest. I haven't looked at this in a little bit. Bloom Energy. Short interest still elevated here, about 24%. And this is just about a percent less than the prior read there. So short interest came in a little bit, but not a whole lot. Still consider this high short interest here. We take a look here, days to cover 2.26. So definitely a little bit of squeeze potential if this keeps up. On average, the stock trades 12.5 million shares. Today, on the back of this news, we've traded just shy of 3 million. I do think we'll get over that 12.5 million average value here today. Float on this one, obviously, it's going to be one of the bigger stocks that we take a look at. Float here is 164.74 million. So 13, looks like, are we also getting some price targets? Yeah, indeed. Susquehanna went from 43 to 105. Boy, they were a little bit late there. So they're there now. 13, you got any thoughts here on BE? Do you think this might make a decent trade for us? What does the chart tell you?
Gosh, I mean, I don't know about this run. It is looking like it's trying to set up to push higher, but this is just one of several different battery plays that we're going to see here today. That's a lot of what's been running this morning, and I think we kind of have an idea of why. So we talked about this in happy hour about how we might want to be looking at some battery plays because these are going to be pretty big going forward, especially for data center backups and powering. So. This is apparently going to be getting a $5 billion partnership with Bloom Energy. Brookfield is, and that's great because this Bloom Energy company loses quite a bit of money. They lose last quarter. They lost over 42 million. What's that?
Oh, I was agreeing with you. Sorry.
All right, but they do have revenue. So this $5 billion deal, this should help pull them into the positive. They have plenty of cash. So at this rate that they're burning cash, it shouldn't be a problem for them. They've got over $500 million in cash. So they're good to go there, I think. Don't anticipate that this will be raising any capital soon, especially in the face of this deal. Not saying that they can't, but it doesn't seem likely. We just have, we had a lot of these names that doing really well, like Ondas, but they're raising capital because they want to expand quicker. So it could be a situation like that if they have to raise capital at all. I personally am not thinking they will. Float is a little bit of a concern, heavy at 164 million shares. So it's not going to be the easiest thing to push around, but still should be see some decent price action. Now, unfortunately, I didn't cover this one this morning because I think some other names were moving while I was looking at, or some other names were moving when this was going on. But let's take a look here. We're just beneath 109. And I think this is just blue sky territory.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So, I can only really speak on the levels going down. I don't really have a whole lot on to the upside unless you want to break out a fib extension tool. And that's probably what we would want to go with. But this just broke out to new all-time highs.
All right, I'm going to eyeball one here. I'm basically going to go from the base to this big run up, and then we'll utilize the pullback there. This extension will give us, we'll call these some of the stupid levels just for the sake of filling this in, 13. I've got 117 and a half, 132 and 3/4, and 176.88 as your next quote stupid levels. I'll leave this plotted on here. We'll see if this ends up filling out at all there. Really quickly, as a follow-up question to what you were just mentioning there, Anne Marie would like to know, let me see if I can find her comment. Favorite battery plays, 13.
So I've got a watch list of U.S. battery names that could be interesting here. So, I mean, it's I don't want to flood the chat, but here I'll just kind of run through them, and you can tell me which one.
If you want, 13, if it's easier, you can Slack them to me. That way I'll have them and we can refer to them, and I can also Slack those to Anne Marie. I'm just kind of guessing here that if she comes across any of these that she likes, we might see a trade out of one of those given away here this week. So we can do that, no problem. I'd be happy to share it with the group as well.
There you go. I got it posted. Now, I haven't updated this list in probably a month, so I'm not sure about one of them, but I think they're still listed. It's just that it's an OTC. Other than that, I'm in Albemarle. Of course, Tesla's going to be a battery play, a U.S. battery play.
Sure.
QuantumScape.
QS, that's the other one. And then one more I didn't see on this list here. This is kind of a small junker, but ABAT. It's worth mentioning the American Battery Technology. This has made a huge move. This did great for a lot of folks in our chat here as well. So ABAT would be another one that I would add to your list there. There you go, Anne-Marie. You should be all set. And I see, a lot of these battery plays are also kind of thing behind the thing. Right, companies that are involved in battery production and all of that, I will definitely be able to get some trades out of that. Really good stuff here.
Well, and the thing about the list, and I do need to work on it some more, is that there's a lot that I don't have on here, and I know I don't have a lot on here because there's a lot of graphite companies that are going to be very important to the battery theme. So I need to get those on here. I have one. I have EAF on there, but I know there's others as well. So. I think that's maybe something we could do in addition to, I think what we're going to be talking about what happened over, on Friday and over the weekend in happy hour. But I think this is something we should also do in happy hours is try to flesh out this list.
Okay, real good stuff here. Just some more to kind of add to this, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of slack these back to you for the sake of taking notes. Okay. SLDP, that's solid power here. A number of folks mentioning this. Nestor was mentioning that's actually already on there. ABAT, MP, LAC, those are also names that 13 already had on there. UURAF, that's another one. I didn't necessarily take a look at that one. ELBM is another one given here by Gunny Johnson. Electrica Battery Materials. Let me add that one as well. Okay, so good stuff here.
And this is for US too. I want to make sure that's that's understood because if we are going to have the situation that apparently is brewing, and we can get into that in happy hour. But if we are going to have some kind of situation, some more rising of tensions between the US and China, I think we're going to want to pay attention to the U.S. names. No question. Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. You had said at the outset there that list was for U.S. ones. Nonetheless, though, I just slacked you back there so we can keep that list running. Okay, really good stuff Cooler's from the group. Cooler's on there too. I don't have, like I said, I haven't updated this list in a while, so that should be on there. But yes, Cooler, absolutely a battery play. Okay.
Awesome. Really good stuff there. Also, really quick, just to kind of fill in here, we were just talking about Bloom Energy. Day trader, appreciate this. Upside levels 130.5, 147.37, 168.80, and then some of those downside levels. I think we actually mentioned some of those. Some of those upside levels actually look pretty similar to what I kind of eyeballed there, if you will, or got there by drawing that Fibonacci trend extension there. So pretty close. That 130.5. That's, I guess, kind of close to the 132.77, and then that 168. They're off by a little. Day trader, nonetheless, appreciate the levels. Really, really appreciate that. Okay.
And don't worry, folks. I'm not ignoring any of the things that you're putting out there about batteries. These are all great. I'm making sure that I keep an eye on those as well.
Yeah.
I'll look for this. So I appreciate it.
I suspect we're going to be coming back to this at some
Oh,
point.
yes.
So this will not be the last discussion that we have on any of these things. Okay, let's keep rolling with the list here. The next one that I have, or I guess the top one on the list here now, STI. I've got to imagine that this was one of the ones that you covered here.
Yep.
This is Solidon Technologies here. This stock was about $5.50 on Friday. It popped to $13.50 here today. They unveiled the next gen Peak Series UPS to power AI data centers efficiently. This definitely picks and shovels data center play. This is on the list here. Actually had some pretty good trading action here, some pretty violent moves, big moves to the upside, big pullbacks, more new highs. We are above the VWAP now, which I love to see. And we've had multiple pockets here where volume has really flowed in the pre-market. If we get anything like that here in the regular session, STI definitely be on deck here for a potential trade. Quick look around the horn on this one. Short interest for STI, 14.99%. Of the float shorted there, 14.98%, effectively 15 with 1 day to cover. Now that days to cover comes on a 100-day volume of about 1.5 million shares. Today we've traded over 29 million shares. The float here is only 1.1 million. I don't think we're going to have any trouble covering up any shorts that are in this name if it continues to trade on this high of volume. But that being said, we are currently staring at 110% move to the upside here. 13, what do you think on ticker STI?
This is trying to gap fill. If you go to a daily chart, you can see that we've got a clear double bottom happening here, and say that it's an inverse Batman. But the $12 area, there's a gap that is going to get filled, and that doesn't fill until it looks like about 15. And then you have the 200-day EMA at 1664. So those would be my next major upside targets. Do we get this gap fill at 12? If we do, it's going to go to 15. If we go push past beyond that, it's going to hit that 200 EMA on the daily. Those would be the areas I'd be looking for, with 12 being a big area of resistance. I don't know that that's going to be able to get through that if the sellers are still hanging out there and want out. But if not, if there's not enough there, we get some good volume, I think we're filling that gap. So and here we are. We're talking about a company that is making battery backups for data centers.
Yep.
Already in the theme, folks.
I was going to say, it's nice when that works out like that, isn't it?
Right. So this does have 1.1 million shares in the float. So it is easy to move around. I didn't see that it had a really strong cash position, like almost no cash, but they are break even on their income statement. So this will certainly help this deal that they've got going on for with releasing these battery backups. I think as soon as they start getting some more business, some more people latching on to, or some more businesses, data centers latching onto that, we'll start seeing some more income coming in. But just keep in mind that cash position. They do not have it right now, but they are, they're kind of break even with their profitability.
Okay. Really good stuff there. STI. Next one, take a look. ELBM, Electrica Battery Materials. How about that? Okay, so this stock here, this closed at about $1.70 on Friday. In the pre-market, right when it opened, we traded up 5+ here. Shares are trading higher on no news, but on October 6th, Electrica Battery Materials urges shareholders to vote online amid Canada Post strike disrupting the AGM material delivery. So this making the news here as well. The encouraging part about the pre-market chart here, first of all, we've had the majority of volume has actually come recently. I know we had a big pop out of the gate there, but it's good to see more volume come back here. And look at the formation. So we have the impulse move. We have a big time pullback to the 65 EMA, which we tested twice and held, and now since have recaptured the VWAP. We're actually above the VWAP here. I've got that value 340, currently trading at 356. So we'll see if we can hold above that there. Do have a near-term high here of about 390 before maybe we can take a shot at that 4 and 5 handle there. Taking a look at the short interest here on ELBM, 12.49% of the float is shorted, and this was about a 4.5% tick up from the prior read. So it does look like shorts have been piling into this recently. This comes on 1 day to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 1.28 million shares. Today we've traded just shy of 30 million. float on this one, 17.7. I don't think there's going to be any trouble covering up those shorts if we do give that here today, or if we do see that here today, but we should see more price appreciation on that. 13, do you have any thoughts here on ELBM, which is up 120%? That makes 300% runners here this morning so far.
If you look at a daily chart, you can see that back in June, July of 2023, we had a support area of about 355 that was lost in August of that year, and hasn't been able to get back up there since. I'm looking at that as a big resistance area that we actually just moved over just while you were talking. So if we can hold above that into the open, then we may still see some more upside, even though we are coming into some more heavy consolidation from that period back in 2023, and that consolidation is going to kind of last until, I mean, the thick parts of it are going to be from about here to like 350 to 550. So we would need to see some pretty good volume here. Now the fortunate part is that this does have 17.7 million shares in the float, so it's not going to be too difficult to move around. Not the easiest either, but it's not, you know, 100 plus million share float. It's even harder. So that's okay. Now, they do have a special meeting coming up this week in 2 days, Wednesday, to discuss some strategic business moves and what's next for the company. So I think that's going to be another date to watch for with ELBM, especially if the battery theme continues to be hot. I don't know if it could move ahead of that meeting or if it's going to move after that meeting, depending on what's discussed. But the 15th, Wednesday, they are going to have a special meeting. And that's something I think that if you're looking to trade this, something to watch for, keep on your radar.
Okay, really good stuff there. ELBM, we'll see how that shakes out here today. Yeah.
And I wanted to, okay, so Lion, you own ELBM, and you were mentioning about how lithium stocks have started to wake up. And yeah, it's a really big reason is because of the overcapacity, overproduction of lithium coming out of China. But recently, a few months ago, I think, it was they started shutting down some mines that cattle uses in order to make their batteries, and that's going to decrease the global supply of lithium. So prices are starting to rise. I'm sure you know all this, but I'm just kind of telling everybody that's really what one of the biggest reasons for seeing these lithium stocks come back, in addition to the geopolitical tensions. But that supply, that change in supply, increasing prices, and I expect lithium prices to kind of double from here until the end of 2026. That's going to be really good for some of these lithium miners and producers. So also a space to keep an eye on as this battery theme develops.
Yeah, and don't forget, we saw a huge pullback, ticker ALB. This is one of our best in breed. We've talked about Albemarle quite a bit on terms of lithium. I think Anne-Marie's given out trades on this. So does this pullback here get bought? I think we probably are looking at another 100 test here on ALB in the near future. We'll see if that materializes. Good stuff there. Again, 13. Really quickly, there is some news, I guess, breaking right now that's causing Broadcom to pop. Not traditionally one of our movers, but we'll take a look at this real fast. Then we'll finish off this list here. Ticker AVGO, Broadcom. Shares are trading higher after the company and OpenAI announced the collaboration to deploy 10 gigawatts of OpenAI designed AI accelerators. So we're getting more of this. Some folks will say that this is circular. The market's clearly responding to this. Broadcom higher here. Looks like 370 was the upside level here. That's notable because we do have, 374? This was your previous all-time high, and it looks like Broadcom on deck here to at least challenge that level here today. 13, I know that you didn't cover this because we got the news while we were on here, but do you have any knee-jerk reaction to this that you want to mention?
Well, I've owned this for some time now, not a year quite yet, but I've owned this for a good portion of this rally it's been in, and I don't think I'm selling yet. This is more of a long-term play for me, so and it's hard to not sell because there's some rules it's about to trigger for me, where if it runs up in with a very long amount, a very large amount in a short period of time, that I do trim. So I might do that, but this is more of a long-term play. I'm still looking for higher and longer, further out. So for me, not going to really do anything. But the news, Just to your point about the money kind of changing hands back and forth. That's kind of what this is. I think it's still OpenAI. Now I wonder if they're gonna offer shares to invest for OpenAI to invest in the company, because they just did that with AMD. So I don't know. For me, I'm still holding, but this is if you're trading this is probably not a bad area to trim. Make sure you're paying yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say 13. If you're trimming stock because it's become worth so much of your portfolio by going up, that is a good place to be. That is a problem that I would rather have than the other way around. One thing that I do just really quickly want to mention, Bharat, I don't know if I've seen you out there. Maybe Bharat's off for the holiday here today, or it doesn't have to be Bharat, but really anybody. Is anyone looking for a short off this news pop for Broadcom early on? If so, I'm just wanting to know what your entry trigger is, what your target is, and what your stop is for anyone else interested in maybe a little bit of a regression back to the mean here. Not the pick that, or not the trade that I would take, but I have seen some of you folks hit those trades recently, and they've paid pretty well. So let me know if that's something that you're looking for.
We saw something very similar with AMD. It had some really good news. And then when the market opened, the only place it went was down. Yep,
exactly. And it's not a comment necessarily on the news, but just kind of trading price action. And that is exactly why I was asking 13 is exactly it.
It could absolutely do something like that to where it fills this gap to the downside. Now, AMD didn't completely fill its gap. The very next day, it opened in the middle of the big candle that resulted from that selling, and it only went up higher. So not saying that we could get that from Broadcom. Broadcom's a lot more expensive, but I'm saying that we could see similar price action. I would think that this tries to fill the gap, and maybe it's successful in filling the gap today. So that's just the first thing I'd be watching for, is that selling into a gap fill.
Okay, good stuff. Next one on the list here is going to be PMAX. Now, this is Powell Max. Now, as far as I'm aware, this has nothing to do with J. Powell, but nonetheless here, this did pop a little bit in the after hours on Friday, popped again here, pretty big, up to 10, bled back. 50% of that move were actually significantly below the VWAP here. VWAP I've got at 708. I can't recall ever trading this stock before. It's financial communications services provider.
It's a Hong Kong company.
Yeah, so in China. So I don't think we've ever traded this before. Careful what you wish for. Careful if you trade this. 25.4% of the float is shorted on this name with 1 day to cover. Comes in an average volume of 151,000. Today we've done 20 million. Float on this is just under $1 million, so that might be what's drawn people to it. 994,000. Looks like a low float popper here. You got anything here on PMAX? I'm with Blaze Rhino here. This is probably a pass for me today.
It probably is, but I did look at this because it was the top runner at one point this morning. So, but here's some things that may deter you away from it. So it recently went through a reverse split because it's facing NASDAQ compliance issues. So it's going through all the motions. The company needs cash. What do you think's coming next? They have 994,000 shares in the float, very low float as a result of the reverse split. So they're just going through that NASDAQ compliance, recompliance steps. Reverse splits, the first one. Now they're going to need the capital because they do not have it. At least they're, from what I could get here, they don't seem to have it. But I think that's what's coming next. So if you are going to trade this, be very careful. Understand that they could dump an offering on us at any time.
Okay. They did a 1-for-8 reverse here on October 6th. As far as that goes. Okay. Good stuff there. PMAX. So STI, ELBM, PMAX. Now NDRA, Endura Life Sciences. This is one that we've traded before. It is back here today. Looks like this thing was just about $6.50 on Friday. Popped as high as 14 and change. Come back a little bit here. We are under the VWAP, but so far we're doing all right, holding this 950 area. Endura Life Sciences announces an at-the-market private placement of up to $14.4 million to launch a digital asset treasury strategy managed by leading crypto asset manager Arca. Did this mention real quick here, digital asset? Did they mention what digital assets they were going after, features such as Hype? Okay, the DeFi sector, beginning with cryptocurrencies and the pioneering decentralized changes in protocols with a focus on the perpetual futures such as Hype. See what else was in here real quick. Okay. So popping on this 4.9 million private placement up to 14.4. Short interest on this stock, 13.1% of the float shorted, 2.98 days to cover. Stock on average trades 69,000 shares, but today it's done 11 million. Float here, again, under a million, 752,000. What do you think here on NDRA? Think we get another trade opportunity here?
Maybe. I'm just kind of looking at their cash, see what that's like. They don't have revenue. They lose a little more than $1 million a quarter, and that's about all they have left on their balance sheet. So that's a bit of a concern. So I would think at some point pretty soon. I mean, well, you just said they had the private placement, so that the cash might not be so much of an issue. But looking at their chart here, we are coming up to a bit of a consolidation area. Where we're going to start to see some resistance. That's back from November of 2024. And we recently, in July, also saw this pop up here and run all the way up to nearly 12. And then the very next day, it started selling off and came right back in. We haven't been up there since. I don't know that we're going to necessarily get that same kind of price action. We could see, we're going to gap up for one. Now we could see some, filling that gap to the downside before it moves up again, if it's going to have any upward movement in it at all. I'm not sure. I don't know about these. It seem like they've kind of petered out a little bit. It seems like they're kind of falling out of favor. I might be wrong about that, but it seems like the excitement and the hype just isn't quite there like it used to be. So. I'm not sure about where this is going to go, but if we are going to get see this going to run like it did in July, I'd be keeping an eye on 12 as a bit of a resistance area.
Okay. And as a reminder here, I've got the VWAP at 1136, so we'll see if we get up towards any of those levels here today. Okay, another one here, GWH, it's back. This is one that we had on Friday. This actually did make a pretty good move, and it's made another move here in the pre-market. $8 seemed to be your high. That rejected it. We lost the VWAP in the process, but so far have held on to this 564. I do think 530, probably one of the levels here was your intraday high from Friday. That would mark one of the support levels here for GWH. Now, let's see. I don't think we had anything new on this, right? We just had the news from last week here.
Nope, but this is a battery theme.
Yep. Okay. ESS Tech shares are trading higher after the company announced an agreement with Salt River Project to add 5 megawatt, 50 megawatt hour battery systems to the grid in Florence, Arizona. So just as 13 said, going along with our battery theme here, quick look at the short interest on this name. 8.36% of the float shorted with 3.24 days to cover. That comes on a 100-day average volume of 4.7 million. Today we've done 36.7 million. Float on this is 12.6. 13, what do you think here? GWH.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's really getting the same kind of volume as some of these other ones that we were looking at right now. Maybe this is will be better after the open, but this doesn't seem like it's really getting a lot of attention. Kind of drifting down to the 65 EMA again. I think that would be kind of like the last area of support that this has, and if we don't get it there, then we're just going to come back down to where we had that impulse move at 5:30 this morning, down around the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Looking at the metrics for this, it's got 12.6 million shares in the float. It doesn't seem like it has a whole lot of cash. It looks like this is going to be another potential capital raise here. Because I don't see. Okay, so they aside from the project, because I didn't go through this and I don't know what kind of figures are attached to it, if there are any at all. This company looks like it's going to have to raise money. So that's go ahead.
I was going to say, we've talked about a lot of these smaller companies, when they make moves like this, they'd be silly not to raise money. Right. So perhaps an offering is something that we can be kind of waiting for here.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that this is what's going to happen, but there is a trend line that I do see here using the price action from this morning. And it's going to give us a pretty high up target that I don't know that we'll hit. But I'm just going to put it out there anyway. So I'm just going to try to draw this trend line from this morning. Yeah, I'm more on the top side of that, but
Yeah. So, but are you starting with just the candles here this morning?
Yeah. I mean, if you do it that way, that probably looks even better.
Well, I'm thinking of adding multiple because the trend lines have been cooking so well. Now we've got a range in here. Did I get this one right from the one this morning?
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned that we're going to get up there because when you look at the volume this morning, it just hasn't really been there, and that's why I'm like, let's just see what we get out of the open, because if we're not going to get any of the volume that we're anticipating that gets us up to these trend lines, we'll just want to do something. We'll just want to look at something else.
Okay. Really good stuff there. GWH. We'll take. I always like the little bits of trivia like this. Day Trader is great at it, so we will shout it here. Clever ticker for a battery company. GWH means gigawatt hours, which is a unit of measurement for battery life and power. So
is MWH going down because they, we don't have
okay.
Anyway.
All right. Real quickly, it's also worth mentioning here that we saw a number of other names that are familiar with to us here: USAR, UUUU, ASPI, DFLI, VSIG. A lot of these kind of moving with the general theme here. Also, really quickly, worth mentioning CHNR. This is China Natural Resources. I'll give you one guess where this one is out of. This did pop to 11, came all the way back in. I'm going to stay away from this one, but I did just want to mention it because it made a huge move earlier today. Really quickly, looking at this one, 7.42% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. Average volume here is 143,000. Today it's 10 million. This extremely low float, 544,000 shares in the float, but we'll probably avoid this one. 13, was there anything else that you wanted to cover here today? Kind of pick and choose if you like.
No, I'm ready for this market to open.
Okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, we have to wait to 10 minutes, but I'm with you. I'm ready for it too.
And yeah, Nestor, we're open today to trade. The only things that are closed are banks and the bond market.
Correct. There was also some news here on Onda. Saw a couple of questions, or saw a question earlier. X-Sniper, Ryan, did you get out of Ondas or are you still holding? I've mentioned this a whole bunch of times. I will probably never be fully out of this stock. I told you that I had bought enough of this where my goal is when I'm done trimming, and I'm not done trimming yet, but when I am, I want to still hold at least 1,000 shares for forever. We've been selling this, frankly, we've been selling this since $3. We've been selling this out, I think, $3.50, $4.50, $5, and $6.50. We're on there. 10 was on there. My next trim levels are 12 and 15. So I'm still looking for more on this one. They did have some news here today, however. Let's take a look at this. And remember, I'm going to be interviewing the CEO this Friday, so that should be fun. Ondas expands Rift Dynamics partnership to include NAMO for fully integrated WASP munition drone to serve the U.S. defense market. I don't think there were any numbers necessarily in this PR, but the WASP headline that came out before drove the stock higher. Looks like this is now, they're kind of expanding that one here. This got released while we were on here, so I haven't read through it. I will be able to do that here. But just to answer your question, no, I'm still in this. Moves like we saw on Friday are not going to shake me from this because I've done such a good job managing my risk on the way up. Now, even holding some, even when they have big extreme moves like this, should be all right. So no, I plan on holding some of this for forever. And I have trim levels above the current price level that I'm still looking to trim here today. You can see, look what happened. Boy, there were a lot of shaky hands on this one in the after hours on Friday. This thing plunging down into a 7 handle. Did not take long for it to get back to the 9 handle. Today, we've gotten back to the 10 handle. Let's see what happens when the market opens here on Ondas. Okay. What else? What's up?
What do you think about Nestor's question here? Will volume be very low? Will volume be very low since banks are closed or are the moneymakers still trading? I guess for me, I would say expect low volume, and if we're surprised with higher than expected, then I think that would be better than expecting high volume and being disappointed with low volume. I guess go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take the other side of that. I don't know what the overall volume number is going to be, but I don't think that I am expecting any less volume today because of this holiday. If anything, those that have the day off, they might be sitting in front of their terminal here today. Now that wouldn't really amount to a whole lot, but with the bond market being closed and the equity market still being open, it looks like all of the regular cast of characters are still ready to go today. I'm not ready to sit here and say I'm expecting low volume here today.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the case, but I think it wouldn't be bad to kind of lower expectations. Then if we have a higher than expected volume day, then we're like, all right, great.
Okay. I think that's good though. I think that's good. Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to take a look at here today? Anything specific? I basically got the main workspace here queued up. 7 minutes until we open here today.
Whatever we want to look at. Saw that somebody was mentioning, or Sergeant Sexy was mentioning LAES. That had some news about them being used, the Landis and I think it's Gear, Landis and Gear North American facilities for securing, providing cybersecurity solutions to, I think, Power Grid. Let me double check and see if that's the news. I just glossed over it real quick. So SEAL's SQ PKI solution being implemented for electric and
13,
gas smart grid.
While you're going through this, I'll be right back. 1 second.
Okay. So that's the news that's moving on here. I don't think it's really dancing around too much right now. It looks like, look at a smaller time chart here. Yeah, I mean, we did have that nice move out of the gate there and just kind of chopping around since. If anything, this is kind of broadening out. Looks like this could still go higher, but we need to see that volume pick up here, and I don't think we're going to get that until the open. So I can't say for sure what this is going to do. It would be great to see this go up because of the way that this pattern is shaping up. It's kind of a bullish pattern here. But if we do get that breakout, it's probably going to be at about 620. And we run into some resistance around 650 and 685. So if we do get that move over 620, that's where I think the next resistance areas would be for LAES. Really interesting company. This has been one that we're all too familiar with. Provided lots of trades in the past. Hey, good morning, Jim. NKLR, we know about that one, don't we? Smoked Tuna mentioning that. You've got eyes on that one.
All right. Which one? Eyes on what?
NKLR. That was getting mentioned here.
Okie dokie.
And, oh, man, what is this? Let me just look at something here. Let me just look at. Sorry if I have any dead air here. I'm just kind of reading something because I just want to look and see what this is.
The NKLR?
Yeah, there's a bunch of Form 3s.
Does that have to do with the changeover from GSRT?
It might.
Think so,
because
that's what we're looking at. This is the first day of trading on NKLR.
I think it was NKLR on Friday as well.
Yeah, you're right. It was on Friday. Sorry.
Because remember, the lockup clause basically says that if the price of the shares hit like 12, 14, 16, or 18, it's going to shareholders are going to be able to sell at those once it hit those prices. Now you have to go and read and see how that all works because if it's 120 days when they do their first earnings report, or if it hits $12, then 25% of this of 80 million shares that were from the PIPE investment are allowed to sell, and then if it hits 14 or the second quarter earnings, then it's another 25%, and it's just like that all the way up to 18. So being that we already went past 18, I think all those people are able to sell now. So it kind of puts a little bit of downward pressure on the stock, but I think that's kind of what I'm waiting to see here if we get any of those people to sell out of this thing, because I know that some are.
Jay here saying nuclear would love to add this around 12-ish. So you're looking for like a $3 pullback here, Jay?
That'd be great. That'd be a great period to add there. So I just want to see if they're actually going to.
I'll probably join you guys, by the way.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for with this one, to see if more people start, that were already in this thing when it merged, trying to get out and take a little bit of money with them.
Real quick, AREC here. The line was mentioning this one before. I actually talked about American Resources. This was a tip given by one of my trader buddies that ended up going pretty well. Lion again mentioning this on the back of the battery stuff here this morning. That's higher here in the pre-market. Looks like it might be trying to retake the VWAP. Also, Marcus, good morning. It's good to see you. Mentioning ASPI here today. This is ASP Isotopes. This actually looks like it is trying to retake the VWAP as well. And we do have a range carved out up here about 1238. So we'll see if this gets rolling here. Marcus, let me know what the trade plan for ASPI is for you, if you have one. The penny stock that y'all folks were messing around with on Friday, Buru. Looks like that is back here, so I can't wait for more Aunt Beru jokes to be flying around here today. We talked a little bit about UUUU earlier. That's on deck, popping highs into the open here. Still 2 minutes to go, a little bit less than 2 minutes to go. Here, CRML, which is one we mentioned on some of those battery materials. This is higher. It looks like that entire theme here really being displayed here in the pre-market. EOSE, this is another one that we've talked about recently. This is mentioned. Aton, Smoke Tuna's got eyes on Aton here as this is popping off the bottom. Maybe a move back to its VWAP there. We'll see. Do have some stocks setting here, so hopefully we get some good action today.
Yeah, lots of selling on Friday, so maybe we get a big rebound in a lot of these with the way things shaped up over the weekend. And we don't need to get into that here. We'll get into that in happy hour because there's a lot to talk about with that. All right.
Nice plug there for happy hour. I love that, by the way.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be it really, I think it is. I was speaking with Tom and he was showing me some things over the weekend. So I'm
fantastic.
I'm ready to go, man. We're gonna.
You seem like you're chopping at the bit here. I'm ready for the football game. You're ready for happy hour. This is the makings of a great day.
Yeah. All right. A few seconds and we're open. Here comes that bell.
All right. The market is open. Let's see what we got here today. Immediate call flow there on a lot of the names that we had talked about, either the nuclear names like Hond, then also Ondas, NVIDIA, AMD showing some here as well. ATON looks like this is trying to pop a little bit. Volume kind of dried up on this name. Up higher we go here. ATON. That was a really timely mention there, Tuna. This 777 marks the high there. Let me go through some of the other movers. 13, if you have anything, just shout it out. STI is higher here. ELBM, this might be trying to move up.
Yeah, it looks like ATON. Looks like 1005 was like the high of the pre-market here, and we could certainly go back up there. If we continue with this volume, we're just now moving over VWAP. Bloom Energy, that's trying to catch itself from falling. STI, this one might get another push up through 1350 here if this volume continues to expand. Getting a little bit of a spread here. It looks like 30 to 50 cent spread.
Okay. Keep in mind that pre-market high there at 1351. That would be one of the levels to watch here.
Here goes Bloom. That's starting to get a little bit of action here. Looks like there's some resistance in the way at about 110. And here goes Baru.
All right, Bloom right through there. This is actually pretty good volume. Of a lot of these movers that we've watched here, Bloom probably the best volume mover there. Just running through some more that we had here. ASPI, we said to be careful there. ATON, that's spread quite a bit. I would be careful there, at least early until that firms at all.
ELBM, looking to
ELBM.
Looking to break this downtrend. If you draw from the high after the impulse move through the pop that we got at 845, that gives us a little bit of a trend that we're trying to break right now. See if it can. NDRA not looking good here. This selling out of the open. You have the 65 EMA that it's coming down to that should provide some support. GWH testing its 65 EMA, trying to turn around off that level.
ELBM, what a great call. This now moving right back up through that 375 spot. Do you see some resistance here, 390 or 4 on that one, ELBM? Yep. Really good mention there, 13. That one was timely. They just took the size there at 380 and out. ELBM, great job.
Fantastic. That's what I like to see, folks.
Yep, nice little start there. ABAT, we talked about this one earlier. This also above the pre-market high, so it looks like early here. Battery theme doing pretty well. Here's USAR. This was a big winner from the Friday move. This was actually above 40 earlier, looking like this might be trying to take off as well. ELBM looks like it stopped there at 390, at least for now. That might not be over for the day. There's 393.
There's some sellers right here in the way at 4. So we're either going to get some resistance, or if the volume expands enough, we're going to blow right through them. But it looks like they're kind of fortify that position there. Stock price moving down a little bit.
Now
$4. That looks like the spot for now.
Now, if you're a little bit late to this one, do we think we want to pull back here, maybe towards that 350-ish area? STI is halted. That's a good mention. So it looks like We're getting some of the halt names early here. This was a halt to the downside. Yeah. I was trying to pull up there. Okay.
And honestly, the chart isn't looking the greatest right now. So I think I'd anticipate a little bit more downside. I would kind of keep my eye on the 915 area for support if we go lower. ELBM not finished though. It's still trying to get through that $4 level, and it looks like it's trying to take it.
Yeah, what's the other thing that's encouraging here. Here we go.
There it is.
Up, and they took it and through. This actually pulled back initially and then went again. I didn't hit it that second time, but ELBM looking pretty good here or there through 4.
Yeah, Diamond, it was 4. Sorry if I didn't see your question there, but yeah, $4. And look at this thing go now. Look at it go.
Really, really good stuff there. ELBM. So now looking at this, where is the pullback level for entry? Probably 4, right? If this pulls back and holds 4, that would be pretty good for some more upside on ELBM.
That might be the case. I think that's right.
Okay.
4 would probably would be the best looking support area from this point right now.
We're going to start Monday off the right way with some register rings, 13. I hope you don't mind.
Hell yes. All right, so now we have, thank you, Jim, for mentioning GWH moving with volume. Tom B's mentioning APLD, big move up. And Anna Genesis mentioning USAR. All names I looked at before, all names that we're hoping to have some really good price action today.
396, Tuna, is that an entry level on a pullback for ELBM? Just to be clear, that 396 that you're mentioning, is that a add level on a pullback?
LAES getting some movement here, trying to move up to the 618 high from the pre-market. We've been up there a couple of times. I think we need to see a break over that level, because if we do not get it, this thing is going to have like 3 or 4 rejections of this area since pre-market, and I think we would be coming back in, to about 550 if we get rejected there. So we need to see a breakout here in LAES, in my opinion.
Okay. See if we end up getting that. GWH trading back up to the VWAP does not have the strength to go above that yet. That'd be great if it does. LAES still at the high end of that range there.
What was the halt time for STI?
STI, let's see what I got there for you. I've got that halted at 9:33:11.
Okay,
so a 10-minute halt's going to be 9:43.
This is the first one, so it should be 5, right? Should be 5.
I don't know how I don't know if they actually select it like that, but I'm just giving you the halt time there, 9:33. So the 5-minute is going to be in 38. That's in 2 minutes, and then obviously 7 minutes after that.
Okay. Just for anybody that's looking to trade that's just some times to keep an eye on. And it looks like ELBM is still trying to go higher here, looking to move over 450.
Really good catch there on ELBM. By the way, that ASPI, this ended up going as well. So this was pulling right ahead of the open there and immediately rocketed. I missed this one, unfortunately. GWH trading up to the VWAP. I've got VWAP at 628. That was rejected there so far, but perhaps that's not done. This GWH still holding on to 6. USAR back to a 40 handle. Watch to see if that takes out 41.
Wow, that's some nice movement out of the gate there. 41.28 pre-market high. That's where it's trying to get up to right now. Facing a little bit of selling pressure as a lot of these the sideways consolidation starts at about 40 and up to that 41.28 level. So I think that some of those shareholders right there are trying to exit their position as it and break even. But if we chew through all those, this is going to go higher. So that's what I'd be watching for with this one. We can chew all the way through 41.28.
UAMI, this pulled off the open, but it looks like it's trying to bounce now. We talked a little bit about that. That was in our stocks to focus list as well. ELBM, as 13 mentioned here, this still up near the highs. Looks like a 5 test coming here on ELBM. Grats to anyone that was in that. That a great winner off the open here. You didn't have to wait long, folks.
Yeah, but we didn't get that back test of 4. As a matter of fact, it only came down and tested my VWAP. I had my VWAP at about 415 at that time. Looking to take out 5 now. So and the pre-market high is 528. So we could see a break over that as well.
QS, the other battery play here, this at the highs, $17 now. Huge rip here. GWH, by the way, looks like that just lost 6. GWH, so this pulled back off the VWAP test there. Looks like it's still flirting with the $6 level here. That's GWH.
And GWH out of the gate also got support from the 65 EMA. So you got those 2 indicators right there. It's kind of caught between it for the moment. So I think whichever one breaks first, that's probably the direction we're going to head. Look at PLTZ. This thing, man, what picking some up into pre-market might have been the play. STI open, thank you. And we are.
So it was the 5 minute. It was the 5 minute then, right?
For PLTZ, yeah.
No. For the STI, yes, because it opened at 38. Yes. So that was the 5 minute halt, just like you said. So I actually sold my PLTZ into the spike on Friday. You're right here. Re-adding this in the pre-market probably would have been the way to go. GWH, by the way, pulling back and losing 6 again there. ELBM above 5 at 532 now. This halted to the upside.
USAR is ripping right now. It's going to break the pre-market. It just broke the pre-market high. This thing is on a tear.
Yeah, it sure is. I've actually got the pre-market high right up near 42. That was on the impulse candle there.
All right. Well, ELBM took out the pre-market high I was just mentioning, and we're halted now. So 5 minutes from now, we're going to see this thing on halt.
And for the record there, 13, that halt at 9:39. So if it is, in fact, that 5 minute halt, you're looking for 9:44:21 as your resumption time.
Excellent. Any news for ELBM? Yes, Tom, there was news. We discussed it earlier. Let me go back and I'll tell you exactly what that was. But this is going to be, this is going to be part of the battery thing. We talked a little bit about the battery thing this morning. This has a upcoming shareholder meeting on the 15th, and they also no news today, specifically today, but the news that this seems like it's going on was from earlier this month. They have a meeting coming up this week on Wednesday, and they also have some news about urging shareholders to vote amid a postal strike in Canada. So that's old news. Didn't have news specifically today, but this being part of the battery theme. That's why it's moving here. So, and they also had a 30 million private placement earlier last month as well. So, no news today, but moving with the theme.
GWH, this now approaching the VWAP here. GWH, a big breakthrough on GWH. That's going to be 2 for 2 on that scalp. Bang, bang, bang. I think that was Kathy that you were mentioning that earlier. Kathy, keeping the train rolling there.
This might be the next one to get hit, meaning this could continue to fly. We'll see if that ends up happening. We just need to see this volume expand, and we need to. First thing I want to see is a close over this VWAP. That'd be fine. We have 3.5 minutes left before we get this candle to close on the 5 minute chart, but I want to see some closes over VWAP.
Really quickly, I'll go back to GWH here in a sec. NAMM, this is Namib Minerals. This is getting mentioned by Smoke Tuna here. This one, a gold producer, developer, and explorer with operations focused in Zimbabwe. This up 23+% here. That's ticker NAMM. Another one being mentioned here in the chat. That actually went right to VWAP and stopped. We'll see if this actually makes a move through VWAP. Let me go back to GWH here because we're still at highs here, 643. Remember, this thing was dipping under $6. Pretty good trade on an ad down there. Really good stuff here this morning. Love it.
The NVX is looking to challenge Tuesday's rally high.
ENVX. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's what Rob's saying.
Okay.
Let's see. How's that looking? Okay, so we did get a pop out of the gate. It took us up to 1305. We did lose VWAP, but it is getting some support from the pre-market high. Volume needs to be better, but if this does hold up here and recaptures the VWAP, then let's watch for that volume expansion. I do see that 1294 has a large seller in the way. So if we are going to get past him, we do need to see that volume expand. That should take us back up over the VWAP and potentially higher if we get that. So just a couple of things to watch for with ENVX there. And GWH, this looks like this is going to continue higher. It's certainly trying to. If this continues, if this can get over 650, it looks like it may end up going as high as 724. I don't know if it's going to go much higher than that. It could, but that would be the earliest area I think we see some resistance after 650.
Well, I'll tell you what, this little pullback that we just got, this basically back tested the VWAP. That is a really healthy move here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this VWAP at 628, 626 here in TradingView. I think we tapped that on this pullback here. We'll see if we get a little bit more of a firmer test here of the 628 level GWH as this pulls back from the highs.
ELBM should open pretty soon.
Here, I'll put this on screen just because it looks like we've got this timed here.
Yeah.
No position for me in ELBM at the moment, by the way.
Yeah, well, if we hadn't sold it on that first candle out of the gate, we would have been sitting pretty. But you know what? It's fine. We made money, right?
Nope, not pissed about that at all. Okay, there are some small rare earth stocks like ARRNF all making huge gains. That entire thing is a theme here. I think we've done a pretty good job outlining that here today. Those tickers definitely very interesting here. GWH still looking like it might test that 628. There we go. Actually looks like it tapped it right there and immediately bounced 10 cents. Boy, that was fast.
ELBM is open.
ELBM is open and going lower, at least so far.
All right, so let's see what that does.
CRML, this is another one that we mentioned. Ryan seems to be on this one here. CRML, this is a really good move through the VWAP. Again, a back test of that VWAP. I've got 1850 as your pre-market high level, only 50 cents away there on CRML.
Big pull in USAR.
Honestly, I think at this point, given the move that this thing had, probably not the end of the world. This pull takes us pretty much to VWAP there, 39 3/4. SLDP, another one from the list here this morning that we haven't looked at since we opened. This popped and is so far as held above the VWAP. GWH, by the way, moved off of that VWAP test to the downside that we got. This is actually looking pretty good here. Not PMAX. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong ticker.
And GWH got that close over the VWAP, so that's encouraging. Now I want to see the next candle move up and away from that.
CRML, was there more news on here that we didn't discuss? We talked about this one earlier, but maybe they had some recent news here.
All right, here we go, GWH.
Okay, we mentioned this one already. Let me go back to GWH here. This now through 660, 667 is your high print there. GWH, really good stuff there.
Yep, it's doing what I want. Thank you for behaving, GWH. I appreciate it. 670 is the next resistance area. It's got to chew through that. There that goes. Fantastic. I think I was still looking for like a 715 in this one, where I think we could see some resistance, but it looks like some of that's already starting to kick in here. Nice movement here with GWH, though.
It's indeed. So all out these. Daniel saying Ryan for your trade ELBM. What are you asking, Daniel? I don't. What is the crux of that? The reason for these trades is because there's a very clearly identified theme here. We basically just played the opening rush from that. Now at this, I think the harder money or the harder trade now is figuring out where this is actually going to find some support to maybe re-enter for a short-term trade there. Yes, ELBM, GWH.
Yeah, and ENVX, that's trying to go higher. Now remember, this is low volume, but it's got some pretty decent price action. Looking to take out 1305 right now.
Well, sorry, which ticker? Which one?
ENVX.
ENVX, got it.
Yeah, so you'll probably see this and be like, oh yeah, that's a pretty decent looking setup there. But you'll notice the volume is quite low to get this pattern resolved. You see it now? I mean,
so you basically want to take this out, but you want that volume pop to take us through there. Okay.
Right. Yeah, volume needs to be better than this to take us over 1305. I do see some sellers in the way at 1350 and 1320, but the volume that needs to be much better if we're going to get over this 1350 area.
Okay, so here's your ELBM. So we did get this pullback here. I've got VWAP at 389, 388 here in Trading View. Looks like we tapped that here. Did not re-enter this for a second trade, but this is back here at this area. Volume actually still looks pretty good in terms of how much there actually is. Clearly, though, this flipped over to selling volume.
Yep, getting a little bit of a pullback here in GWH as well. Let's see what else.
Nice little bounce already here in ELBM if you took that. Again, no new position here on that. How's Broadcom doing after that news that we took a look at here this morning?
Good question. Let's see what kind of price action we ended up getting. Look, oh, hey, I see some selling.
Hey, how about that?
Selling all the way down to 344. And now it's trying to turn around.
We're crossing through the VWAP here. 351.50 is what I have there for Broadcom. That moving higher here.
So we did get that. Well, I guess it wasn't much of a gap fill at that point when we opened, but it did trade back down to that 344. And if you draw a line at 344, you can see how that does have some really standout points of support and resistance. So 344, that was where it found some footing, turning around now, trying to go from red to green.
Okay, let me actually change this exactly to 344. So nice little move back there, regression back to the mean, but this one probably not done given the news that we have here today with OpenAI. That's Broadcom AVGO. 344 marked there, 13, so we'll be able to keep this one on the chart. That was a really great back test of that, really
absolutely
sharp level there. Definitely.
Bloom Energy starting to put in its first green candle of the regular session, albeit on low volume. It's still having a hard time getting above VWAP, but just thought it was worth mentioning because we haven't seen a green candle yet in the regular session, and we started getting one here. So just think it might be time to keep an eye on this if you're looking to trade this. I'm personally not going to touch this thing at $105, but
yeah, me either.
If you have if you have the will, there's the way. So.
Figured that one was going to be coming there. And by the way, on ELBM, tuna really go. I don't know what the future holds here for ELBM for today, but honestly, on this big time pullback right down to the VWAP, really timely mention on that VWAP loading zone here. Remember, this VWAP here, I've got it at 390. I believe it was 388 when it was actually pulling back here. Stock's at 430 now. So you already bounced 50 cents off that. Tuna, you mentioned it as soon as it came in there. That's the exact type of thing that we're looking at. I didn't take the second trade here, but ELBM bouncing pretty well from the 388 VWAP spot that was called out there in the chat. Really good stuff here this morning. I'll tell you what, you guys got me fired up.
Come on, man.
We got to get some more trades here. All right, there we go. Rigetti getting mentioned by Kathy. What's Rigetti doing?
It's probably doing.
I was going to say ripping to the upside. Indeed, 50 prints now for Rigetti. This is interesting because this is actually above the high on Friday. That would have made a great short there. New all-time high on Rigetti Spaghetti.
Man, oh man. All right, well, I guess we'll see 50 later. Why not?
And ELBM, good gosh, what a bounce off that 388 spot. Tuna, I'm not sure what you think here in terms of trimming a bounce trade like that, but this pretty good. Had I have taken that, I'd probably be all out here. 60 cents off that bounce. Really great mention there.
Oh, yes.
GV getting a mention here on a pop. That's Visionary Holdings. This did pop to the VWAP. Hasn't cleared it out. Looks like it's slowing down a little bit. Ticker TMC, the metals company. This moving here today. This straight up out of the gate on really good volume as well.
I still have my levels for GV from the last time we traded this. Looks like this had, was this the pre-market? Yeah, so we had some movement here in the pre-market that took it up to 268, but then it backed off pretty quickly there and went back into the sideways channel. It was going as low as 140. Now we're open here. We're trying to get back to some of these levels that we were at previously. 190 is one such level that it runs into and has some resistance, but then you also have 206 after that, 260 after that, and 270 after that. So that's just a few upside levels to go for. And if you look at what happened this morning, 268 was the high, so just a couple cents shy of that target there. This thing could also potentially go to 3, but it needs to get through all those other levels first.
XCH, this here mentioned by Tuna, this had a sell-off midday on Friday. This pretty much right back to where it opened there on Friday. That's pretty good. ELBM tapped 450, 70-cent VWAP bounce trade there, 70 cents in just a couple of minutes on ELBM. Really good stuff here. That actually gave multiple trades already here today. ABAT, another one that we mentioned, new intraday highs as ABAT moving above the $9 handle there. Looks like $9.50 coming up here on ABAT. Onda's still flirting around 10 there, which is good. PMAX, this pretty much all the way back into its 200 EMA, hasn't done anything since then. Robert, good to see you. Sorry, 13, for running you over there. I apologize. Robert, good to see you here this morning. Happy Monday. Hope your weekend was good. Robert mentioning Oklo, which is 170 now. Oklo just straight up. This thing is a monster.
USAR and some of the other mineral names. I think you already mentioned critical minerals, so you got that. Keep an eye with TMQ and NAK. Those are also getting some movement as well. Not as good as some of the other ones, but just keep an eye on them. They're up.
Well, 13. Do you think we might have a catch-up trade on some of these laggards that aren't moving yet?
Okay. Probably. I mean, but if you look at like, let's take NAC for example. If you look at NAC, we kind of went sideways all morning here, and it was been trying to get above 230, not really having it, and we dropped out of the gate. Got some support from the price action on Friday, and now we're trying to turn around and chew through this pre-market price action. So the volume isn't looking like it's getting through that quite yet, but it's managing. But it has. I still think it needs to get a little bit more volume to get through the 230s, and then this thing could be trading maybe a hell of a lot better, but there are some sellers in the way.
And TMQ, by the way, the other one that you mentioned there, that had a really nice move through its VWAP at 657. That up here at 676. So 20 cent higher than the VWAP. That continuing to move as well. Here's GWH. Looks like this is maybe slowing down ahead of 7. Volume actually looks all right there. We already took a look at ABAT there. TMQ continuing to the highs. That was a really good mention. USAR coming right back onto that 42 spot on USAR. That's definitely one to watch.
I was getting someone was mentioning MVST Microvast.
Okay,
is having a nice 21% move this morning, and this is the one that does the hollow lenses, right? And they worked with Microsoft and the U.S. military. Is this the same one, or am I thinking of a different one?
Lithium-ion battery solutions. Renowned for its cutting-edge cell technology and its vertical integration capabilities.
I'm thinking of Microvision, so it's not.
Yeah, that's MVIS. This one here, another straight battery play we discussed from the theme here today.
Yep, another one battery play with some pretty decent short interest. As a matter of fact, this one looking like it has some of the largest days to cover about all the other ones we've been looking at that has high short interest. 17.7% of the float shorted, 4.79 days to cover. This is kind of in that short squeeze wheelhouse. So could be some of that we're seeing here today as well.
QUBT, this is another quantum name. This did pop here out of the open. This was higher in the pre-market, now higher in the regular session, but I am seeing put flow come across the unusual options wire here. That's QUBT. Haven't seen it yet for Rigetti. Also seeing some CoreWeave puts here. So CoreWeave also started the pre-market higher, pretty much dipped down to the closing price on Friday and bounced from there. CoreWeave here, 142.
ENVX, we talked about this one. It's slow moving, but it is still making new highs. 1327 now, just a slow mover, but it's getting there. It's getting up. Looks like GWH also trying to put in some new highs of the session as well. Looking for 7. It just got it, and we're moving again.
Sorry, I had to blow my nose there. Let me put GWH on screen here.
It just popped up to 715. So that area that I was mentioning earlier, where it could go to 715, hit that, backed off.
And backed off of it. Okay, great.
I want to see it get taken out still, because it seems like it's still going to take out the pre-market highs of 798. So I'd be looking for $8 next. But let's just see what we end up getting here, because that price action that took us up to almost 8 was immediately met with selling. So that I'm not sure about this area from about 725 to 8. We could see a lot of back and forth.
XCH, this opened and went lower. QNRX, this was a big mover from Friday. The halt fest there from Friday. This halted once here and is trying to move higher here. ELBM, this is back at 420. So that bounce play there, you had to be pretty quick with it, but that was pretty awesome and a really good call. Timely call here by Tuna in the chat. Daniel's saying that the Bears on GWH are strong. Let's hope the Bears of Chicago are strong later today. Am I right?
The Bears of GWH are having a tough time right now. They're getting demolished now.
Yeah, they sure are. This trading higher now, right through 7. Good stuff there in GWH.
Yep. Let's see that $7.98 $8 print, and then it could either do one. It's going to only do one of two things. Either it's going to blast through it and make a new a higher print, or we're going to actually see that resistance kick in, and it's going to cause this thing to come back down pretty hard.
Also worth mentioning here, 13, WWR. This is Westwater Resources. This is a water play, but it's also a battery play. It's on your battery list. This higher here, 240 resistance so far on this one.
Oh man, that battery theme. And this could just be the start of it too.
I know that's the thing. Yeah, I know I'm out here day trading these, but the reality is that maybe we do have some more kind of extended moves on some of these. We'll see.
USAR new highs, 42.05 now. And it looks like NAC's about to do the same thing. Large sellers at 230. We get through that. We're breaking over the pre-market high.
By the way, I know it's not necessarily connected to the battery theme here, but Bitcoin also looking strong here. This back through the 115 level looks like it's approaching 116 on the futures. Ethereum following shortly behind with that.
Yeah, and this is a fantastic morning that we're having here, but I think we need to kind of temper expectations. I think we could be in for a pretty volatile rest of the October. So let's make sure we're paying attention and keeping ourselves protected. I think that we're going to see a pretty volatile October.
Okay.
Look at GWH now, we're 753. It looks like that was the high. No, 750. I'm sorry, and it pulled back in. Now we're back to testing VWAP.
PSIG, PSIG International Group. This has actually already been halted here.
Tuna, you're talking about ELBM. Are we looking at another move through VWAP here?
It came right back down to the VWAP, and it looks like it's trying to bounce.
Okay. It's. I've got it trying to move through VWAP right now. I have VWAP at 235. So we'll see if I can do that. Yeah, I'm right there with you. There's a lot of things happening this month, and some things that aren't. That could also have material effects. So we can, and we'll get into that later. But ELBM, I'm on right now. Got to get through this 440 area.
Market here, by the way, continuing to trade up. So SPY looking like it's trying to take the next leg up. NASDAQ has been strong from the open. And Dow trying to take the next leg up. So the breakfast tacos, the huevos rancheros, they're tasting pretty good here today, huh? Someone, I think it was Fairchild. I asked what kind of tacos people were looking for this morning. He said huevos rancheros. So just that didn't come out of left field here. I wasn't the first one to talk about food here today, FYI.
It's hard to resist. It just always seems to just end up happening, and you have to catch yourself. D-Pro moving up, says Lance.
AMD call flow as well as MP call flow. Also seeing NVIDIA put flow. Actually, you know what, though? I don't want to get too ahead of myself there on the NVIDIA call because we also saw some call flow from that. By the way, LGO, this is another stock that we've talked about before. This is Largo. I think we talked about this on vanadium prices. Maybe it was one of the other metals.
Yes. So vanadium, it's not going to really be used for EVs or vehicles. It is going to be used for as a battery backup for big data centers and buildings, because you just really can't move this stuff. It's very, very hard. So yes, vanadium is going to be a big battery backup, and there's a lot of battery plays that we're going to have to go through and everything. Real quick, NAK, we're trying to get the all-time high here of I think this is the all-time high 240. We're really close to that, and we could break out into new all-time highs with NAK. I'm pretty sure this is all. No, I'm sorry. I had to look further left. It's going to be some highs that we haven't seen in a while. Not in a while. Not since 2012? 2017. Sorry.
NAK straight up out of the gate. That was a good mention there.
Well, and don't forget TMQ. Don't forget that one either. That one's up now 15%. Hasn't broken some of the pre-market highs, but it's having a good morning. What's your level for quadruple U? Let's see what we got here with quadruple U. Seems like it's kind of dealing with some resistance right now at $25. Let's look at the daily chart here.
Sorry, you.
Well, I guess I really can't draw from anything on the daily chart. We're blue sky territory here. It seems like 25 does have some resistance, and so I would like to see. I mean, I was in it. I'd like to see it get beyond that. But here's another thing: our daily RSI on this is pretty extended. So I don't know how high this is going to go. Maybe some folks who are more experienced with the nuclear names could tell you. But just from a technical standpoint, this is really extended, and I don't know where the party really ends with this one.
You through 25 now.
Yep, there it goes. 86 RSI on the daily.
Pete says, Ryan, I saw about 53,000 people running from the war zone in Chicago on Saturday. How many of those people did you count as one person known as Fatso around town, Pete? Just asking for a friend there. LOL. ABAT. We just shy of 10 here on ABAT. I think we're going to get a 10 pop here.
Well, let's take a look here. NAC hit 240. ABAT, let's see.
This I'll tell you what, of the battery, I'm glad that we talked about the battery watch list here today, because pretty much all of those stocks have moved, including some of the ones that we didn't necessarily run down in during the movers list there.
Oh, the timeliness of it all. For ABAT,
So good.
For ABAT, we are in some consolidation that goes from about 2022 to 23, but we're not at an area yet that looks like it's got some really heavy resistance. For me, that's going to be somewhere around $14.90 to $15. If you look at a daily chart, you put just a horizontal line at 15. It really stands out the different areas of support and resistance this particular level has encountered before, and I think that's going to happen again. I don't know how soon we get up there. There certainly are some other levels of resistance it's got to get through first. You could see one at 13 as well, but 15 really does stand out on the daily chart to me.
Kathy, out of ABAT 993, really awesome trade there. Nice short-term win. Really good stuff off of this. Lion says, don't talk bad about your fellow citizens, LOL. I'm sorry. I don't talk bad about my fellow citizens, but JB Pritzker doesn't count. We'll say all the bad things about that clown, no doubt about it. MP getting mentioned here by Kathy. We'll take a look and see what MP is doing. That and USAR are really good trades there on Friday.
Yeah, and I'm sure
look at the continuation.
I'm sure you, Amy's probably having a pretty decent day as well.
Yep.
Oh, how about that 28%? Geez, this thing is wow.
And we mentioned that this morning. Let me actually pull that up here because let me actually check that article, because I think that everything on here. So the Mag 7 stock, let's just throw those out because those are always on here. Vince, Lucid, and Faraday were the other ones on there. Okay, we can check in on those a little bit later. All right. ELBM, that is actually holding above the VWAP here. It's actually holding above 4 too. I've got that VWAP. What is this value at? 395 on ELBM. Not breaking down yet. That's good to see. MP still at the highs. CRML at the highs. This above 21.
Looks like ELBM is trying to recapture VWAP. Need to see better volume though, or else this thing is coming in. Trying to get through the seller at 422.
And here, let me actually, I'll show you what I'm seeing here intraday on the ELBM chart. It actually looks like we might be getting a trend line to set up here. Yeah, so I'm thinking something like this. Let's see if we make it through, because it's kind of going sideways here so far.
Honestly, this kind of is taking on the form of a cup with handle. If you look at the price action all pre-market, we got the cup.
Yep, and there's your handle. Okay.
So we're getting the handle now.
Well, I'll tell you what, 13, a break then through this trend line would
Yeah.
maybe confirm that, especially if it got back up to those highs there. Okay. That's something to watch.
It's meaningless without volume, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
we
Okay.
are seemingly getting a little bit more of it. So we'll see if we can end up getting this resolution.
Okay. God, there's a lot of action here today.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. There we
was a
go
lot
on
of opportunity.
ELBM, by the way. Tick right through 330, 340, 345. There we go on ELBM.
Seller
No
at,
position for me on this one, but boy, oh boy, I might have missed that.
Seller at 650. I'm sorry, at 465. Deleted.
I absolutely love that lab. Looks like they refilled that 465. But nonetheless, the move through this trend line that we identified, bang, bang, bang. That would have set up another one. Didn't hit it myself. 470, your high print there, ELBM.
Bloom Energy set to skyrocket, says Angelito. Keep an eye on it, folks. Keep an eye on it.
It has already, hasn't it?
I mean, I don't know where. I mean, this is in blue sky territory, and Day Trader also gave us some levels with the fib extension. So if you wrote those down, those are going to be levels.
You know what? I'm always doing stuff. I did not write them down, and I probably should have. I mean, I don't even know if I can screw. That was so long ago. There's been so many comments here. I don't even know if I can go back and look for it. I'll try though.
ENVX getting a lot better volume now. This is wild. So the one that was, having some good setups with the volume, just wasn't quite there. The volume's there now. Hits there now.
Volume tells the story. We say it all the time. Yep. Oh, look at that, dude. Look at the back test of the VWAP and then the go on the volume. Damn, shouldn't have taken this one off my screen. Great call on that.
NAC is going. MP is going. The critical minerals, the rare earths, we're on fire. Just as Lion said, we absolutely got this one today, team. Absolutely. No, I mentioned you, Amy. About 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was going to say we talked about you, Amy. We talked about you, Amy, here this morning. This is not even the first day that you've talked about you, Amy, either. GWH, by the way, pulling back. Let's see if it holds the VWAP there. I've got that at 647.
No, I was talking about you, Amy, and getting into it prior to when China was cutting off the antimony shipments back in September last year.
This was a happy hour exclusive.
Oh, dude.
I almost want to say.
Wasn't
it? It was single digits back then when we talked about that one before.
It was under $1.
Yeah. Okay. It was pennies.
And now
it was pennies.
Now it's 15.
Yeah.
Now it's 15.
Really good stuff.
I didn't know it was gonna go that wild, but it did end up doing providing a really great trade for me, but I sold too early.
You made money on it, though.
I made money
Emery
on it.
says the poll is hilarious. We love our producer around here. That is for sure. We love our producer.
Smoke Tuna mentioned ELBM a little moment ago. This thing, this thing resolving the cup with handle. We're back up to the top, and there we go. Resolution complete. Cup with handle, folks. You saw it all there.
Sorry, which ticker was that?
ELBM. The cup with handle.
ELBM.
Cup with handle.
New highs.
Resolved. There it is.
What a move.
And that was a perfect cup with handle too, because it went right to that high or just a little bit above that high from pre-market. Great cup setup. That pullback, excellent handle. Short handles, great. Loved it all. Loved it all. I mean, everybody could probably pat yourself on the back. I'm seeing a lot of polling in the market right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this, we do see some of this start to come in.
563 is your high there on ELBM. It pulled back down to that recent high that it went through. Okay.
All right. Oh.
Marty says y'all underestimate Columbus. I voted yes in that poll, for the record. So I'm not underestimating him. But that's funny. And Emery, I'm glad that you enjoyed the poll question. Please vote in our most recent poll question. Producer outdoes himself on a regular basis.
Well, what are we looking at right now? It seems like things are coming back in a little bit.
ELBM, that was a really good pop. WWR continued to move to the highs there. Here are some of the other movers. STI, this really hasn't done much of anything, hasn't been able to recapture its VWAP. USAR, $43. It looks like 44 was your high. This pulling back. I actually think this might set up a little bit if this gets back down to VWAP. BE getting mentioned here by Joe. Good morning, Joe. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, BE is curling back up again. This it's going to have to deal with some sellers that around 111, 110 and a half, 111. But the momentum does look like it's shifting back towards the upside. So we'll see if it can get through some of those levels. We need to see better volume in this though. MP big pull. Looks like some of these are kind of pulling here, coming back in. USAR, same thing.
Seeing a little bit of it back off there.
Yep. ELBM as well. Okay. Just make sure you've paid yourself, folks. And I think that, if these do come back in here in the regular session, because we are approaching that time where volume really does leave the market. Later on in the afternoon, I'm sure some of these names will be back. They'll be back strong. We've seen these movers come back later on in the day many times before. I just wouldn't take them off your radar. Yeah,
and I would keep the ones that are near support front and center, right? Because those are going to kind of be your best play. NAMM looks like this did just pop here. We have some wicks above. So again, would really kind of rather this come back to support and try and add it there. BE, this looks like it lost 110 there. We'll see if that sets up again. ELBM pulling off of its high, really using these impulse moves to sell into. That seems to be the best way to trade that. Let's see what else we have here. Acon.
We also were getting asked about Plug Power.
You want me to put that on screen here? I'll do
sure.
that.
Plug Power has been, a name that we've traded on and off, over the past couple of months. And right now it looks like it's setting up to make a move to 5, but I don't know how much higher it's going to go after that. As a matter of fact, after it goes to 5, we could see some selling in Plug Power. But I think if I was going to make any kind of call on this, that 5 seems to be the big resistance area. There is a gap fill above it that takes it to nearly 6. I don't know if we're going to get that. It seems like 5 is the really big resistance area to me. So if we do get up there, maybe print a little bit higher, even potentially gap fill, that move, that big up, that final upward move, I think that's going to be the one that you're going to want to sell into. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Don't let me disrupt your trade idea for Plug.
Seeing some more Ethereum calls there. That's good to see. Bitcoin, by the way, did stop at 116 and backed off a little bit, but still holding about 115,500 there.
Could ELBM or would ELBM go to 7? It might, but there's some real tough resistance that I see prior to that, and it's around 650. So if we can get through 650, I would probably say, we could potentially see 7, but I don't know if we're going to do it if we can't get through 650. I mean, obviously not, but 650 just looks like a real standout resistance area.
LGO, this came back in right around its, let's see, I've got the 9 EMA here. VWAP just about a nickel beneath that. USAR here, this still pulled off of its high. PMAX still hasn't done anything. CHNR here. This might be curling.
Yes,
I'm still going to stay away from that one. STI is halted.
Is halted, yep.
Is halted to the upside.
And if we cannot get back above 12, it might be done until maybe the afternoon or even later. But 12 is going to be the resistance area I'd be keeping an eye on here for STI.
It did have a little bit of a volume pop. I see that here in the volume chart on my broker as well. So we'll see what happens when the halt opens here. I had that halted. This is the second halt, and I had it halted at 10:14:30. So I think we'd be looking at what, 10:24? You get a 10-minute halt on the second halt?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I was confused. I thought you were talking about the price. Okay, so this is STI. And if since this is already halted once, right? You said that
this is the second halt that it's in right now. Correct.
So it should be 10. I think it is.
And so if that is the case, we're looking at 10:24:30 as your resumption time.
Okay.
BBAI. I know we haven't really looked at that here this morning. That's been a popular stock on this show, however.
Yep.
BBAI, this did move here. You're right, Joe. There's just been so much else going on with the minerals and battery side here. We really haven't had a chance to check on BBAI, but this is what it looks like. Interestingly, we were unable to get above the high there on Friday.
880 seems like that's been a quite a resistance area for some time, since July in this in BBAI. So if we get above 880,
I think you're exactly right. In fact, I'm going to mark this off on the chart. This is going to be a new horizontal line plotted right at 880 on the chart. 13, I think you're spot on with that. There it is.
Yeah, so I think, and as I scroll up here on my price ladder, I could see that there's a lot of concentration of sellers that starts at 860, and it gets even thicker and thicker and thicker as you go higher into the eights handle. So I think that's a really important spot to watch. We're going to need to see, I think, some really good volume to get through that 880 area. Keep that level marked off if you're trading this.
Okay, good mention there. And this might set up if it pulls back to the VWAP intraday. We'll see. NAMM, that's up near the highs. Here's TMC, which we talked about earlier. This in the process of a pullback as well. NDRA, this has just been a total disappointment. I mean, given some of the other movers here, we've had plenty of other stuff to go to, but disappointing here for NDRA.
What was the time we were waiting for on STI?
STI, 24:30.
Okay.
So if it is still a 5-minute, it would be 10:19:30, and we are currently right at 10:19 on the dot. So 30 seconds if STI is a 5-minute halt. If it does not open in 30 seconds, I think it's safe that it's that 10-minute halt.
All right.
Pretty good action here so far today, though.
It has been a fantastic morning. It really has.
It sure has.
I hope everybody here did really well, made some money. I think we're going to have a lot of volatility to trade on. So giddy up. Our Rigetti is holding over 50. Fantastic. This should be a new all-time high for it, right? USAR really starting to come in now. Looks like the critical minerals, the mineral name.
STI is open. So that was just a 5-minute there. STI open higher here. 12 looks to be the resistance. STI.
Yep. 12 the resistance. Let's see if we can get through 12. All right, I'm going to look around and see what else is doing some work. You know, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of trades setting up right now, and I'm not sure that if there are some setups that we're going to really see a lot of that volume. We might. We are getting to that point. We have 10 minutes left before volume really does start to leave the market. So see what ends up happening here. A fantastic morning, though. Joby, says Izzy. Let's take a look at Joby. They had an offering, I think it was last week, right?
They did. And I think that got bought, didn't it? Let me take a look at the chart here.
Well, I think I can pinpoint where that offering was on the daily chart. We are getting support from the 20-day SMA, so that's encouraging. Now, if we can get back above, well, actually, if we can just fill this gap, we're on pace. Let's go ahead.
So I was going to say, so not quite. So the offering there, I believe, was on Tuesday, October 7th, after hours. We are basically back to where it settled after that offering. So we haven't quite gone above that.
Take care, Lion.
Take care of yourself, Lion.
Good job today. Yeah, and it's interesting because that 20-day SMA and the 1650 area, both areas, like just look at a daily chart and put a horizontal line at 1650. Interesting support area. Yeah, we'll zoom into that price action there. You'll see.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me correct it here real quick. My thing's lagging a little bit.
That's effectively the neckline that we saw earlier this year in July and August from that head and shoulders formation that took us down to 12. What is this low? 1270 after it was over 20. So that head and shoulders pattern, that the 650 area was the neckline, and now it's support again. So need to see that. Need to see the price move up and away from 1650.
Okay.
Or it's going to become resistance. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, Staff Sergeant Ryan. Ryan, my man, just wanted to check in on you guys. How's everyone doing today? Well, I'll tell you what, man. First of all, hope you're doing well.
Doing fantastic.
And yeah, hope you're doing well and hope you're staying safe out there. We're doing really good. We had a lot of news here on some of these battery plays looking pretty good. How's your Boeing looking, Ryan? Is that where we're going next here? What are you thinking on Boeing? We did talk about this as being a possible trade for a defense angle here. Here's a look at your Boeing daily chart.
STI is dropping. ELBM is trying to move up, and NDRA is trying to reverse. Sorry.
STI, real quick, pulled right back down to its VWAP. It's trying to bounce there. Might want to let that settle a little bit. Ryan, I tend to think if we pull back any little bit here in Boeing, I think I like this above 205. Just guessing. All right, let's see what else is moving. PLTZ getting mentioned here by Kathy. Am I going to regret this? 13. Your call to re-add this in the pre-market. I got to start looking at that. I got to start maybe re-adding some of these things in the pre-market. That was a really good call. And after selling this on the rip on Friday, re-add in the pre-market probably would have made sense.
And look how easy it is to see where the supply is from the after hours that it ran right up to and could not break through.
Look at ELBM. Sorry to change gears here, but this right back up near the highs.
Yep. It's a fun day.
It actually has been fun. There's been quite a bit here. As soon as I was focusing on football on Sunday, but as soon as I saw Trump on Sunday, I was like, oh man, the market day is going to be awesome. The market day is going to be awesome tomorrow.
Didn't he say something that we're going to be very happy on Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, that's about the remaining hostages being released, which is just absolutely fantastic.
It is, and I'm glad that that's starting to come to a close here. It's just kind of interesting that
me too.
That and this market were had lots of happy people. Now we were getting mentioned with LLY Eli Lilly, taking a look at that. It's coming down to an area of support, like down around 815. That's kind of the area that I'd be looking at as support. There are some levels beneath it, like of course 800, the 200 day SMA, but I think the earliest one right now is going to be that 815. I think that's where the next support is. Hey, Robert, how was that? A little bit jealous. He was at the Packers game last night. Where is supply on what, ELBM? So, or what was the one that we were looking at, that I was talking about when I was mentioning the supply? I think it was ELBM, wasn't it? No, I don't think it was. What was it? We were just looking at it. Was it PLTZ? I think it was PLTZ actually. Yeah. So PLTZ, the supply that I was referring to is from the after hours on Friday. If you look at the price action so look at where we closed on Friday, and then look to the right of that, and you see that we have, of course, this pop that took us up to 796 and came right back in. But all the sideways price action, that's the supply area. And when we opened this morning, we opened much lower, down near $7 even. So when the price came up to challenge that area where all those buyers were in the in the after hours on Friday, it was met with selling because they wanted out. That's why you got that rejection in that area where that supply is. Yeah. So that was PLTZ, and that's the supply I was referring to.
Boom.
Dang. That's some really good seats. You know what? Maybe I'll just go back and see if I can pick you out of the crowd. Mahomes shredded the Lions. It was a good game.
I'll be honest with you. I fell asleep at like halftime of that game.
Halftime.
So exhausted.
After halftime, it was a little bit better of a game. But I had a good time watching it.
Let's see what happens tonight. Fingers crossed for tonight. Fingers crossed.
Let's see. I can't remember who you guys.
And 13. I don't know if you were here this morning. The bet, I gave a 7-leg parlay away on Friday, right before we got off.
Yeah.
And it was just the Cowboys that couldn't get the win against the lowly Panthers that ruined it. Every other leg hit, and the Cowboys were winning in the fourth quarter of that game. I was like, come on, that's it would have been 2 bets in 2 days given away that would have cashed. Just
Cowboys cowboying. STI getting
Cowboys
mentioned?
cowboying. STI looks like a possible move through 12. I think that's what the talk is here.
Gotta get that volume. That's the only concern I have. If we don't get the volume that it needs to get through that 12, then we're losing VWAP, I think.
I think you're probably right on that. Here's your STI chart. NDRA, is that finally trying to curl? I'd be careful with this one. We've just seen kind of a lot of disappointment on this. If you get your gains on this, PJ, I think taking them is probably a pretty good idea.
Excuse me. Zach, drones, the 15th of October, the drone discussion period ends. For which company? Or what are you referring to? Or is this like something?
I think that's one of the conferences that he's referencing, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember which one that is, though.
I missed that. Sorry. Yeah, not sure there's a whole lot that's looking great right now. It is nice to see NKLR come in some more. 1360 is the support that I see, but I think that's also potentially a breakdown level. So if we continue lower here and we get down to 1360, I think we'd initially see support. But if it doesn't, rebound off that level, I think we're going through it. It looks like that could be a breakdown area.
And I don't know, for those of you that look at, risk on versus off based on Bitcoin rolled over from that 116 level. It actually lost 115 as well, holding here at like 114.8 on the futures.
Jay giving us another.
I talked about that one already. I talked about that one 2 weeks ago when you guys were talking about that. I talked about how I bought the rights, SVIIR, on that one.
Right. I remember that.
Great to see I was a tad early on SVII. Fantastic. Here it is.
On critical minerals, any thought? We're moving today. All the battery and the metals and mining, anything that has to do with minerals and rare earths, they're on the move because they were on the move on Friday, just not in the same direction. So that's a thought right now. This could go on for some time.
Theme me up, Scotty. That's the thought. Theme me up.
It's part of a theme now. I think that's right. What I would just try to just say it is. It's just part of a theme.
ABAT back to its VWAP.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes there. We'll see.
Man, oh man. GWH, this looks like this is about to make another move. Getting a little bit of some volume. Need to see a lot more, but it's getting a little bit right now. Might see some of these names turn around, but remember, it is that 10:30 time when volume does like to leave the market, and people get up from their desks that get ready to go to lunch or brunch or whatever meal they'd like to have at this time of day, depending on their geographical location.
Farsi Marcy asking about Black Box. That's ticker BLBX. What do you think of the Black Box bounce? It's on short sale restriction. Interesting. I'll tell you what, the short sale restriction, that's good info. I think that this probably can get back to that VWAP. This might get wild if it trades above that with that restriction on it. No, I don't know for sure here. BLBX stock has given up its prior gain. Black Box was trading higher after its merger target, Realloys, entered a letter of intent for a 10-year off-take agreement with Critical Metals for 15% of projected production from the Tan Breeze project. That's your news here on ticker BLBX. No position on this one, but an interesting looking chart, Mercy.
Yeah, and BLX and Critical Minerals are working together apparently with that. I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So hey, we're on our way. All right, STI, here we go. Still trying to push up there to that regular session high, that being $13 even. Looks like some of these names are getting some support around their VWAP. Looks like NAC is, ENVX. Let's see what else here. Not those. Bloom Energy looks like that's trying to make a new session high. And Bloom Energy, with being that it has a large float, this could still go back up to 118 where it was in the pre-market, but it might take a while to do that, like all day or maybe even tomorrow or something like that. It's just not going to move as quickly as some of these other ones that have a much smaller float.
So that's BE you're looking at?
Yeah, BE's got a large float.
Okay.
Yeah. GWH still curling back up. Matter of fact, we can probably draw a trend line here off the high of the pre-market, the high of the regular session.
Let me cue it up. I'd be happy to draw that.
Yeah, and that would be a bit of a breakout spot.
So we're looking at the trend line from this pre-market through the recent high, correct?
Yep. That's it. Let's see what
there
we
we
get.
go.
See if we can break that.
Oh, let me tighten this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry
now, if we
that.
do break that, then we probably get a date with our our trend line, the trend line that you drew from the previous days. That takes it up towards 10.
Yep, we'll see if we get that.
We will see if we get that.
What else do you guys have for a setup?
I mean, it looks like there's a lot of these mineral names just like getting support from their VWAPs, trying to turn around. I'm just not sure that I'd be jumping into this because the volume and the time of the volume. There could be a quick pop that immediately gets met with selling. I don't know that I necessarily would want to try and take some of these bounce trades yet. They might be good, but I think I'd like to wait for some volume to return. So I'd be sitting on my hands for a little while.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you what, stuff like that, definitely a help. What do you guys have for the best setups here? If anything, GWH maybe on a curl. What else do we have here? ABAT.
I'm
just
Bloom
going through them.
Yeah, Bloom is trying to do it. STI, see, this is one of them that we're looking to get above 1350, and it's still having a hard time. Volume, it's kind of there, but it needs to be better. ELBM, kind of the same thing. This one actually looks like it's going to lose VWAP.
Let me ask you with STI here, this to me, so first of all, it looks like the support area here was clearly 950. This to me looks like this is going to try and take 12. Did you say you had a range up to 14 here on STI? What was your target on STI if this goes higher?
Well, 1350 is the pre-market high, and that's one of the things that we need to see taken out here.
Okay.
But, I think we were talking about this one earlier. This 1350 area was important because we have a gap fill that takes it up to $15 if we do get that. Now that gap fills back from March this year, and if we do get back, if we do get above that, and the next resistance above that level of $15 is going to be 1560.
Got it. Smoke Tuna says STI needs to sell off and then might be able to come back there. So looks like, Tuna, if it pulled down to this 1050 area, this is where it bounced before. I've got VWAP right in there at 1058. Maybe that's a suitable area to shake out some of the weak hands on STI. You'll have to let me know. Actually, the more I look at this chart, as long as we just don't keep getting rejected here at 12, I think this probably pops here 12. I guess a lot is going to depend on the volume here, though. We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. It's been a fun day already.
It really has. And I'm ready to come back here and do it again tomorrow.
Oh, me too. Me too. Another morning topic, Carvana. So we did talk about that Carvana news earlier. Remember, we had an analyst there that was quite bullish on it, even given where it was at. The key thing here is that, oh, you know what? I had it on my other chart here. This price action was basically running the high end of a broadening formation. This pullback here is so far getting bought.
STI is still moving. It might. There's a trend.
Did we break 12 on STI?
There we go. It just suddenly chomped through.
And
it came right back.
What did we just talk about for 12 there? And now it's ripping here through at 1250, it looks like. Wow. I don't know if you're going to get that pullback to that 1075, 1050, 1050-ish area. I don't know if that's in the car. Well, we'll see. I'm making too many early calls here. This stuff is all over the place. Action is all over the place.
Yeah, Carvana, I think this is just a bounce from the selling that we had on Friday. I don't think this is going to be recapturing levels.
Yeah.
I think this is still going down.
Yeah, so we had talked about there really the 200 being the next downside target on that.
Yeah, I want to see a move. For me, the next target I bid before the 200-day SMA, I want to see this lose 320.
STI 1250 now. 1350 was one of the other levels that you had there.
1350 is the pre-market high, and that's the resistance area prior to the gap.
13 coming here. Ooh. Sorry, this is actually kind of spread and kind of all over the place. Not the easiest name to trade right now, unless you're in lower.
Nope. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm probably going to be hands off that one too, to be quite honest with you.
It would be great if I'm wrong about that. And it just rips right through 1350 and goes to 15. But at this particular time of day, I'm not confident that we'll see that. Maybe later, but not right now. I don't think.
There's Bharat. Bharat, I was asking about you earlier. I was wondering if you were going to short the Broadcom impulse move that we got at all. The short actually worked out pretty well, although it's over now. It looks like it's bounced pretty good off this 344 area. Bharat asking, is bull good to buy in a long-term account? So here's my thoughts on this. After watching what Hood did, it's hard for me to, I shouldn't say it's hard. It definitely makes me wonder the same thing, Bharat, is where STI is going to halt.
Yes.
1332 is the halt. That's just shy of that pre-market high 13 was talking about.
Finally broke through 13. It was hitting 1295, 1298. Finally broke through 13. Now let's see what happens out of this halt. I'm still not touching this thing.
Yeah, neither am I, but great. For those of you that have been on this from this morning, great job keeping it on your radar. Here we go. Just took a little bit. Now we're up near that pre-market high. 13, I got to be honest with you. I think if this pops that 1350, this probably just rips, because we took at that pre-market high. We'll see. Anyway, really quickly here, getting back to bull. Bharat, my thought here on bull is, like, after watching what Hood did, it makes me think, yeah, it would be really smart to add a little bit of this here in 11 and see if maybe we get up there. But it's so much not like Robinhood that I don't know that thesis is going to work. Now, you're talking about a long-term trade as it is. So I think given enough time, given the proliferation of trading and all of that, yeah, I do think it's probably a good one to hold in there. I just don't know if it's going to work. I don't have it in my own long-term portfolio, and I don't think a direct analog to Hood is the right comparison. But given what we've seen here, especially if they expand their product and the different markets that they allow you to access, yeah, I would think that is probably a good long-term one.
Yeah.
Yes, and 13 does use Webull. Sorry, I was answering Joe. Sorry, 13.
I just don't know that the selling is done with Webull yet. So it might be, but I'm not sure, because this could be the bottom candle that we're in today. But I think I would want some confirmation first, because it still looks like there's potential for this to drop lower. So
this is interesting that you're bringing this up. I thought for sure that this day here, I think I even asked you about it. I even asked you if this candle was bullish to you. I felt like it was. Look what happened. Now I know we've got the Friday, last Friday thrown in there like a monkey wrench. Okay, it is what it is. But I do find it interesting that it's holding this level. I would say that if you break down from, first of all, if you have a long-term view here, maybe this is a pretty decent level to add it at.
Well, look at what the price that we're at right now is. Okay,
1140. Got it.
Now look at the price from that green candle, that low. Look what the low is, and look what the close was on Friday.
1141.
Yeah, so 1140, 1141. That's the area. I think that
in the close
price.
The close was 1140.
We have to close above that.
Yeah.
If we're gonna turn around here, so that's what I'd be keeping an eye on. If we can if we can close above 1140, I think we might have a good chance here of turning around, going higher. If we don't, still may see more downside.
And look where it's battling here today.
Right.
That's really good breakdown there. Really good breakdown. Bharat, let me know what you end up doing with this. I'm curious.
ELBM is getting mentioned here. This looks like this is trying to make a breakout over 540. We did get one earlier in this regular session that took us up to 563, but it was rejected. Now let's see if this next one does it. I'm a little bit concerned about this. I'm not going to take a position, but if you folks have a desire to trade this, don't let me stop you. But I feel like we're going to need to see some pretty good volume here to get through that 540 area and beyond the 563 high. STI was getting mentioned. Did it resume?
No, STI is still halted here, 1332. Okay. By the way, the time on that halted 10:38:34. So If it's a 5-minute halt, that would be opened up at 10:43:34. It's currently 10:42 right now. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, though. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I'd. I mean, you go ahead and trade it if you want.
Tennis, no need to spam, dude. We've talked about you with you before. Come on, man. Sorry, 13. Go ahead,
I was just saying, I'm not. It's been such a great morning. I'm not looking to give anything back. Some of these probably will work out. Not sure if they all will, or everything we've been talking about. But if you guys make some money on whatever is about to happen next with some of these, like STI when it unhalts, congratulations ahead of time. I'm good for right now.
Yeah, I'm watching STI at this point. It's almost just the fireworks show that I'm interested in more than anything else. If that does open up here in a minute, it would be about 30 seconds away as we just crossed 10:43 right now. So here's ELBM. This still looking like the intraday highs there. It might be trying to pop over. I've got STI open on another screen. We'll check it out as soon as it opens here. By the way, someone last week, or it was the week before, I can't remember who mentioned it. It was someone in the show mentioned the delay that signals had. We've talked about it before. Some of the halt and resumes get delayed because the feed has to catch up with itself. The dev team has actually patched that, and this has been phenomenal so far here today. And I think it was actually like this on Friday, although I didn't have an entire time in the office there. But in any case, Signals looks to be a lot more responsive here. Dev team fixed that. Still watching STI here.
Baru's returning
to Tatooine. Oh, sorry, I must have mixed that up.
Well, I mean, we did get a shakeout to 48 cents, and now we've recovered we're recovering the view up right now, but we also recovered some of the EMAs like the 265. So trying to push higher here. Just need to see some better volume.
Okay, we got through the 5-minute here, so it looks like indeed this one here, and that was the third halt. Third halt, not going to be a 5-minute halt here.
WWR is trying to get back up to some of the session highs.
Good old Westwater.
Yeah, 249 is the session high. It's trying to move up and away from the 235 area, but need to see better volume. That's just going to be the case for the moment now. Is volume. There we go with Baru. God, I want to make it. Okay, I'm going to say it. She's on fire. All right, see ya.
Was that an NBA Jam drop?
Remember that game?
Yeah, God. Dude, I do remember that game.
I had such great memories with that game. It was on the SNES you're talking about, right?
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
NBA
man.
Jam.
Oh, that was a lot of shit talking in that game too.
Oh, man.
And they followed up with a double flip with a basketball on fire.
That might have been the game that started off the smack talk when I was younger, to be quite honest with you. That might have been it.
That was great. I'm looking at GWH. That's trying to move away from VWAP. This might be getting some volume here, but it's the time of day right now concerns me. I think that's been clear, but it's starting to get a little bit of a lift here. So just thought I'd mention it.
GWH, also ELBM. Those could still break higher. Looking like they're kind of showing that a little bit. Yeah, ET3, peak basketball, peak e-basketball. Honestly, I don't think you're wrong about that. He's on fire from way downtown. Boom shakalaka. That was a big thing. I mean, look, dude, those were good times. Those were good times back then. He's making me all nostalgic now. I love it.
GWH, I think there could be something going here. If we just get a little bit more of a volume expansion, we could take out 8. But that's all it's going to be at this point. We just need to see that volume like we were getting around 10 o'clock.
Haven't really noticed anything all too crazy off the unusual options. Did see a lot of flow in both directions early, but now it seems like it's calmed down a tad.
Oh, yes, ET3. That's another great mention. The NFL responded with NFL Blitz.
I never liked those games.
Oh,
I never
man.
got into those. Those were so popular, but that was never my cup of tea.
Dude, the only reason to really play that game is because after the play was over, you're still diving and spearing these guys and tackling them and just like dropping your whole. That was part of the best thing about it, is that after the play was over, you're still tackling these guys, and it got out of control. Oh man, yeah, rejected. Oh jeez.
I love the nostalgic vibes that are flowing here. I got to be honest with you.
And it's great too, because it comes at a time where video games are absolute trash. So taking us back to when they were, it was a better time for gaming. That's perfect, just perfect.
Man, I feel like NBA Jam led into Mario Kart, that led into GoldenEye, and that was just like the epic ramp that you needed as a kid.
Thanks, Nintendo.
That's true. That's true.
Levels for PayPal, asks Izzy. Let's take a look here.
Ooh, PayPal. I still think there's going to be a really good trade in PayPal at some point. Let me go to the bigger chart here real quick. Still waiting on STI to resume, by the way. I've got it up in another window here, so I'll let you know.
Tennis is mentioning 20 seconds in STI, so that's could be soon here. By the way, PayPal didn't enjoy Friday's announcement that much. Lost $75 level. That was an important level. Here we are. We're open with STI now.
STI is open 15-year high print.
Yep. We're in that gap and rejected, maybe. Let's see. Well, let's see what we get here. I'm not going to call it live.
1522 is your high print there. We are pulling off that back into a 14 handle. It actually looks like it's trying to hold on to that. I'll go back to STI here in a sec. As far as PayPal goes, one of the big levels that we have been talking about is 75. This basically pulled us down to a consolidation area and the 50-day. I'll be honest, if it holds here for another day, Izzy, I think I like it down here.
This whole sideways area here, this is a demand area. So we need to see that the price get catch a bid right in this area. We don't want to see this go beneath, I would say, like 66. That seems to be, there are some prices lower, like 65 kind of stands out as well, but 66 seems to be the area where that demand zone kind of ends. So need to see some support kick in from here to 66, I think.
Okay, good stuff there. Anne Marie says, I love this zone in PayPal. I too like this zone right here. I think that's really good. And I think that 66, that's a good downside area to watch there.
Now, so STI, let's circle back around to this real quick. That gap pretty much got filled all the way. And the next resistance area, if we are going to get back above 15, is going to be that 200-day EMA at 1662.
Wild stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan, time for some Costanza reference. The Frogger. There was just enough grease and mozzarella to make that high score possible, Jay. That's one of the best episodes, by the way, of Seinfeld of all time.
MP is printing a new high here of the session. I think this is a new all-time high. Yeah, it looks like it.
$100 holla coming here on MP.
I think it's going to 100. It could be
definitely.
There. It could go there today. Could go there today. Looks like some of these mineral names are coming back. USAR trying to now. This looks like they are. I'm not saying that they are, because I think that being the time of day that it is, some of these might and some of these might not. I think later on we'll probably get some even better price action.
GWH, Kendall, good mention here. This actually popped above that trend line that we drew. Look at this 13, and this is halted. GWH. All
right, so I guess the thing to watch for with this one, let's see what's the float on this. 10, okay,
halted 770, indeed. Let me see. Let me pull the time for you on that.
Yep. So if this the high in the pre-market was 798, and we did use some previous highs from the past days of this trading to kind of give us a trend line of where this might go. So if this is going to get that volume, it's going to take us up to where this trend line is. We're looking at prints of over 10.
Your time on that halt, 10:48:38, is your halt on GWH. So 10:48:38, you'd be looking at 10:53:38 as the first resumption time. This is halt 1 for GWH, if it is in fact a 5-minute halt. Izzy, let me know what you think about that PayPal discussion, and let me know what you think about this as a trade. I know you've got some that you like for the long term, some that you like to scalp back and forth. What's your view on PayPal for, let's say, the rest of the year in terms of time frame? Let me know. Let me know what you thought about that.
ENVX lost the VWAP. This is looking less appealing now.
ENVX.
Yeah. I think if this could come down. There's some support areas like at 13 and 1280, but I think that 65 EMA is what we're going to want to watch. But yeah, this doesn't look as appealing as some of these other ones right now. I think
all right, our second poll that Anne Marie really liked. The results are in. If Christopher Columbus was alive today, would he have been able to navigate this market? 67% of you said no, while 33% of you said yes. And the producer said, boy, if Columbus was alive now, he'd have been margin called.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Magellan.
I like it, 13. Anyway, hope that you all enjoyed that. Happy Columbus Day. Hopefully you all are having a great Monday here today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Smash up the like for not only Anne Marie and 13, but also our chat, which consistently outperforms other chats.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are rewarding yourselves with money, but hey, we got to get that recognition out. You guys are amazing. And here we go with PLTZ. This is now coming up to the highs of the regular session again. Let's see if this time we get a move through it. Move through this consolidation, this supply zone that we were talking about earlier. We're right back up there right now again.
GWH is open. GWH is open here. Looks like we did pop higher here. 824 your high print. This backing off now. I'll be interested to see if it holds this trend line, 13.
Yep, that's what we're going to want to see here if we're going to get that 10 print. So if we can hold this trend line, get some footing, we'll make what could be a slow march with the volume that we're having. Could be a slow march up to 10, but maybe there's some volume spike that suddenly happens that takes it up there. I don't know, but 10 is what we're looking for.
I see the market kind of holding here. I just noticed that Steve Leisman is interviewing Fed Vice Chair Lael Brainerd right now. They're talking about the China tariff policy. I can't hear what they're saying, but worth noting, maybe something comes out of that affects the price here. Haven't seen it yet. GWH, by the way, retesting that trend line.
Yep. Remember, just keep in mind the time of day that we're in. The volume might not be there for some of these names. Okay, so GWH came underneath the trend line. It's getting some support from the 7 area. And PLTZ is still having a time with that supply zone.
Okay, real quickly here. Ethan says, I'm new and I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I want money, LMAO. So hold on a sec, because this is a common feeling here. Mm-hmm. It can be very, very dangerous if you don't morph that soon. I understand a lot of new people have the same thing, and that's totally fine. But one of the things, and it might be difficult for our show, because a lot of time there's a lot of stuff going on here. One of the things, Ethan, really wants you to focus on start with stocks that you understand and know. That is companies that you either understand or in industries that you understand or pay attention with. Because one of the things that we're constantly looking for here are what are the catalysts for a move and what is the entry and exit for the move. We throw around a lot of tickers. We throw around a lot of prices here. And unless you know exactly what you're listening for, it might be overwhelming, and we don't want to do that for you. Glenn here says paper trade first. Totally agree, especially for this show. If you want to try and be as active as the show can be, definitely paper trade first here. Try to develop from that ground floor that you're on. Totally fine. We all start there. But try to develop something that you can lean on from that ground floor instead of just, I want money to fall from the sky, because we all want that.
I would say, Ethan, I don't know what the level of your knowledge is about these markets or even what we're doing here, but I would start with the most elementary approach. Understand what, how what a limit order is versus a market order, but, the ask and the bid. Get an understanding of all that first before you start jumping into trading.
And we'll make it fun for you. That much we can promise. We'll make it fun for you, but you really need to develop those fundamentals.
Yeah. I don't want to be insulting towards you about how much you know about this, but I think I would start with a really basic understanding of just what it is we're doing here with and what we're looking at, and then we can start talking about we're looking at different technical aspects. We're using different indicators. You can get into what VWAP is, but first things first, got to make sure you understand simply what a bid and an ask, and what the different types of orders are, how long the market's open. Just very, very basic things first.
And I want to reiterate something that Brad here is saying. Brad is saying, don't chase these guys. And I cannot stress that enough. You should never be chasing us. If anything, I think if you do that, you're probably going to end up getting hurt. If anything, you should understand what it is that we're commenting on and what that means for the future trade. Like when we're looking at a stock, like STI was a really good example. We're looking at a stock that's spiking here. Because we're looking at it and because we're talking about when it's halting, that doesn't mean that you should buy it and chase it. Brad's absolutely right. Instead, focus on where does it make sense to buy the stock if it A, comes back in, B, finds some support, something of that nature. Don't I know the show gets exciting here. We all get excited. We all have a lot of energy in the morning. We pound coffee like it's going out of style. But do not, this is really good advice. Do not chase us. Instead, try to take a methodical approach to the whole thing. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, we want you to not only enjoy yourself doing this, but make sure that you're able to continue to do this. Don't want you to lose your shirt on the first day.
Yeah, definitely not. Veggie Girl saying you guys mainly trade on the 5-minute. I would say for day trades, for quick trades, it's a combination of the 1, 5, and 15 with the bias or the majority, if you will, being on that 5-minute chart. Yes.
People will use 1 minute, 3 minute. I use 5 minute. It's just really what is going to work out for you and what you've kind of learned to use. Sometimes it takes a little bit of your own development to get an idea of what it is going to work best for you. Some people it might be the 1 minute. For me, it's the 5.
All right, 13. We are at the end of the show here. It really went by quickly. It was a super fun day. Love seeing a lot of the new folks here in the chat. We hope to see you tomorrow and the rest of this week. But 13, any closing words for the group?
It's been a fantastic morning, folks. I look forward to talking and trading with you again tomorrow morning. Please make sure that you're not getting yourself trapped in any of these names. We want you to come back with cash so that we can do this all over again. It's been a wonderful morning. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff. As always, have a great rest of your day. We'll check in with you, and happy hour, we're going to have a big discussion about the whole China tariff back and forth thing, I suspect, as well as some of these battery plays. Folks, really good stuff here today. Cheers to all of you. I'll take that one. Have a great rest of your Monday. Of course, go Bears. Hopefully, I am in as cheery of a mood on a Victory Tuesday as possible, but we'll see. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Trader Bacon next.